Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli,
Yep. How you doing, all?
also known as Troy Pacelli.
Occasionally,
Okay.
or hey, fat guy, Baldy
Oh,
McBaldface.
please. Have a great show, Geezers. Thank you, Big
Will do.
Al.
Thanks so much, man.
Netters Network. Hi, sweetie. Thank you.
Yep.
And hi, love my life. Oh, that's to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming, but we never know.
Matt
You
and
never
Nui.
know.
Matanui, hi. Okay. Auditor Dread, good evening. Joshua V. Welcome, Joshua V. Okay. What you sipping on?
I'm sipping on a grapefruit soda.
I have
I mean, Friday nights is always more interesting. After that, I gotta sober up for work.
I have an unsweetened iced tea here.
Unsweetened. Okay.
Is that good or bad?
I don't care for it, but whatever you enjoy.
That's face facts. You're saying that's one step away from water. That's what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, you got bitter grass flavored water is what you got.
Yeah, it's nice and bitter anyway. Oh, Troy Pacelli, destroyer of bumblechucks.
Yes, thank you very much, Auditor.
Okay, that'll be on This Is Your Life. They'll mention that.
And,
Daniel Heron, welcome. Saw your rant video.
Yeah, sorry you didn't enjoy the concert.
Hope you got some better biscuits and gravy at home. Okay?
And Claude, good to see you too, my friend.
Well, welcome. All right. I didn't see Lightyear yet. That's okay. Neither is anybody else.
Yeah, almost nobody in the world has seen Lightyear.
Down 65% from the past week, and I looked it up before the stream. That's Pixar's biggest drop ever.
It is abysmal. And I even mentioned there was another YouTuber that did a video about it. I commented his Twitter tweet about it, or whatever you'd say, and the thing he was ranting about is how the media that he had seen was still doing stupid phrases like which isn't too bad for post-pandemic or whatever. And I'm like, nobody's buying that bullshit anymore. I mean, they're literally standing in the theater looking over their shoulder and pointing at Maverick and saying, I'm sorry, that doesn't carry weight anymore. It doesn't. Spider-Man, Sonic, all of these things, some of them that actually took place during the actual pandemic are doing better than Lightyear. Lightyear cannot use COVID any longer to hide behind.
I'm waiting for this next Minions movie, Despicable Me franchise movie to come out, because that's basically the same target audience as Lightyear, correct? Let's see how it does at the box office. I'm very curious.
Yeah. Are you going to tell me that the past 2 weeks, that was it? That was 2 weeks ago was COVID, and this week nobody cares about COVID because look at all the people that would see this movie. No.
I'm keeping an eye on it. Yeah, I want to know how it's going to do.
And I'm even hearing all the people saying, regardless of what you thought about the woke crap that this movie is built around, they're still trying to pull the oh yeah, everyone's upset about the gay kiss. No, the gay kiss is the smallest part of the woke cornerstone of this whole film. Everything else about it sucks. And it's basically doing the same thing to Toy Story that what's it called? Rise of Skywalker. No, not Rise of Sky. Last Jedi did for Star Wars.
Jurassic World Dominion is eating the competition. Also, yeah, we're going to be talking about that a little bit.
Have you seen that soundbite from the interview with Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, Captain Woke.
Stop.
Yeah. I mean, when he said that thing about, those people, they're all just dinosaurs and they just need to go away. And dinosaurs are eating Lightyear at the box office. That's some friggin' irony. Actually, Valiant Renegade did a clip of that. Just a little clip video. It's hysterical.
Minions 2 might flop. DM3, Despicable Me 3 didn't do well financially compared to Despicable Me 2 and Minions. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah. See, whenever you make predictions like this, you got to look at the market around it, what came out at the same time, what's it up against. Right now, I think families are really looking for something to take their kids to. And even something that's mediocre might do really well right now. So
I'll be very curious. Yeah, Godzilla versus Kong made bank during the pandemic. Yeah, imagine if it hadn't been day and date.
That one made bank, and it wasn't that day and date too.
That was a day and date one.
And that one had everyone scratching their head. It did so flippin' well that it even did well in theaters during COVID when it was also showing at home.
That was one of those things where legendary, they were not happy with Warner Brothers.
That one blows the whole pandemic argument out of the water, because that happened during the actual friggin' pandemic.
Yeah, no one knows.
This is why you tune in, folks, to hear me raise my voice.
Problem with the film is no one knows the plot for Lightyear aside from the gay kiss, and Tim Allen isn't voicing the character. The marketing was terrible for this. Yeah, I heard there was a meeting over there where they were telling the people at Pixar, shut up, prior to the film's release. There was no hype for it. There was no hype for this movie.
David Pensack, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And Mr. Matchstick, yo.
All right. So now we got a lot of news to cover, so I want to just get into the good old days.
Tell me about the good old days, Aged Boomer.
All right.
What do you consider the good old days these days?
Well, I want to talk to you about a magical time back. For me, it was in 1998. Oh, that was a while back, I guess. Now looking back on it, but I was in college and I had taken some film classes, and apparently in one of these film classes, we were watching these things called laser discs.
Yep, I had a Laserdisc player. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes,
and I found Laserdisc fascinating because you could have 2 audio tracks on them.
Yep.
And I think we watched 12 Monkeys with audio commentary from Terry Gilliam. Whoa, you can hear the director talking about the movie as well as having the regular soundtrack on the disc. And I was thinking, and then I found out that Japanese anime discs, they would have both the English track and the Japanese track. Yep. And maybe you could turn the closed captions on it, would be a direct translation. So it's like you had the best of both worlds, subs and dubs. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, I'm going to save up for a Laserdisc player.
Let me tell you, I had it specific. I had my Laserdisc player specifically so that I could have the Laserdisc edition of Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. And the Star Wars version was these days people would consider it the definitive original Star Wars.
I remember seeing those discs in a mall store. They were the ones with the VHS re-release happened, right?
Yeah,
clean them up. Yeah, I remember those THX certified.
And I actually had that transferred so that I could have a digital copy of it on another media that we're just about to get to.
Yes, DVDs. So, anyways, around this time though, I knew that the DVD player was coming out, and I remember looking at the price of DVDs versus the price of Laserdiscs. And I think Laserdiscs were what, $50 if that was a cheap disc, right?
At that time, they were pretty darn expensive, And the other thing is, for those of you who didn't have Laserdiscs or know too much about them and are used to DVDs, Laserdiscs were the size of LPs, big albums, and
like records.
And they were double-sided, and sometimes there were 2 discs. And to watch a whole movie, you'd watch one side of the disc, then flip it over, watch the other side, and then maybe you'd be putting in the 3rd disc. It wasn't all on one disc on one side.
And you'd have to flip the disc for most movies, and I guess they'd have double discs. And DVD came out, and I decided, you know what, I'm on board with. I'm going to try getting a DVD player. They weren't super cheap. I think I got mine for $400 something. It could have been higher, I'm not sure, but it was a Pioneer DVD player, and I picked that up. And I remember getting my first batch of DVDs, and one of them was the Night of the Living Dead Special Edition.
Nice.
I think another one was Dirty Harry. Dog Day Afternoon, I think, was another one. Blade Runner, the director's cut, because they had recently released the Blade Runner director's cut on VHS, so then they put it on DVD as well. Austin Powers, that was one of my first DVDs. So was Starship Troopers, because a lot of the newer movies coming out would get these fancy special editions on DVD, and they would have animated menus.
Yeah.
They would have audio commentaries and little documentaries on them, and I thought this was really cool. I got some James Bonds. The early James Bond, this was before even the special edition of Bonds came out. They had I got Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker on DVD, And it was funny because they had like these animated menus, and on Spy Who Loved Me, there was like a shark swimming around in the background. It was because, of course, that's the sea themed Bond movie.
Right.
It was just really neat though, because you have to understand, kids, those of you younger, it's in the days of VHS, you would stick your VHS in and you would play it, but you always in the back of your head, the more times I play this, the more it's going to degrade.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to get snagged or on the heads or something. It's going to get damaged. VHS was never a permanent format. Some VHS tapes were better than others. A certain company was notorious for putting out their movies on very cheap VHS tapes. I won't mention that company's name. Cough, Disney, cough. They used to do that.
Exactly. Not to mention, they had this great reputation for anything that was released directly to VHS was a bunch of crap. So,
well, there's that. But even like their mainstay movies, like Sleeping Beauty or Aladdin or something, they put it on the cheapest VHS tape. People would complain about that. But I got a DVD player. In the early days, not everybody was on board. Spielberg, he did not jump on board it right away. I think Saving Private Ryan might have been his first movie to come out on DVD.
I was a pretty slow adopter of DVD. In fact, I was telling Boomer back in the green room before the show that I was actually a very slow adopter of CDs. The first CD player I got in '92. Yeah, they'd been out a long time by the time I got one, and that was Netter getting it for me because she was starting a CD collection for me. This was before we got married, so cool. She got a CD player. It was a multi-disc player, and my first CD was Prince, Diamonds and Pearls, and and it just sat at her apartment, and I'm like, okay, you marry me, you move in, and you get the album. I'm like, okay, I'm marrying you to get the album. But I joke, but that,
well, she knew how to treat you right. That was the whole point of that.
And then after we'd been married for several years, I'd say, when did you say you got your first DVD player? Did you say 98? 90? What year did you say you got it, Boomer?
Oh, I got mine in 98. I thought,
98.
I got mine in 98. Yeah.
That would probably be about the time I got mine too. Again, Netter got it. We'd been married now for 6 years, and she was going through a little bit of a shopping network kind of thing. She got me this really great collection of comics that was a commemorative thing for the death of Superman, which I still have that. I love that thing. She said, "What do you think about this, this DVD player?" And I'm like, I haven't really had a lot of interest in DVDs. And at the time, DVDs were still significantly more expensive than VHS. I said, but we're starting to get a lot of VHS tapes, and they're taking up a lot of room.
Yeah.
Those DVDs take up a lot less room.
Yep.
I said, if you can get it for a good price, get it. She got it for a good price. I don't remember what it was, to be honest with you. And that's when we started. First thing I started doing was transferring VHSs to DVDs, because at the time, a lot of our VHS movies had not been released on DVD yet.
Did you have one of those DVD recorder off of
Well, what she had gotten was a VHS DVD,
right?
So if you had your own like home movies, you could copy them over to DVD. So we did some of that, but there was also ways to copy from a so-called copy guarded VHS. Keep in mind, what I was making was literally a transfer from VHS. Fair use, guys. If you own the media and you're making a different media copy of it for your own personal use, entirely legal. All of which have been replaced at this point by store-bought DVDs as they were released, because much better quality, menus, the DVD extras and stuff. So you're kind of speaking to my wheelhouse when I'm always saying own physical media, and at first, the first ones that I was getting, which were usually also the first ones being released, I thought, if there's anything I'm going to have on DVD, it's going to be those really grand films, that like Wizard of Oz, right? Gone with the Wind, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So those were the first ones I absolutely got, which is funny because then a couple of years ago, when that whole hullabaloo started about Gone with the Wind, I immediately ordered another copy of it off of Amazon, only to realize, oh, I'd had this DVD sitting here since almost 98. Never even opened it. So
that was so stupid. Warner. I remember that whole. I don't know if I had started my channel yet when they were going after Gone with the Wind, but yeah.
Well, and if you haven't seen Gone with the Wind, make sure that you tune in next week on
Big Al's channel
Presents, an hour earlier than usual, folks, because it is a longer movie. We'll be watching Gone with the Wind. Yep.
Yeah, and you'll never go hungry again. Actually, that's a lie. You may end up. No, I'm sorry.
Frankly, Boomer, I don't give a damn.
No, I'm just thinking that's not funny in today's economic climate.
Yeah,
okay,
the way things are going, that. You very well might.
Anyways,
you're going to be living off the kindness of Papa Joe, is what you're going to be living off of.
I remember though, some of the DVDs. DVDs were great for horror movies. You had a company called Anchor Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And plus Scream had been a big success, so you had Anchor Bay putting out these horror movie special editions all the time, and they had like Evil Dead 2, which came in a neat tin box, and you could had audio commentary by Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, and then that was almost as fun to listen to as watching the actual movie by itself. It was and I remember when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came to DVD. And I think I think my mom overheard me because I was placing the order online because it was coming because you'd be getting all these big movies getting their first DVD release. It's like, oh, Texas Chainsaw in a special edition. I'm gonna pick that up. And my mom was like, that's a horrible movie, and I can't believe they made a movie based on what those people did.
Yeah.
And of course, the big joke is
very ultra fictionalized. I mean, it's barely.
Yes,
it's loosely inspired by.
Very loosely. It's basically a fake movie. Of course, I don't blame her because the ad campaign, when you watch the trailers on the DVD of John Larroquette saying, "The story was true,"
sort of. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, no, it's not true at all. But anyway,
they say it was inspired by Ed Gein, right? Who was also the inspiration for Psycho and several others. And none of them even none of them even have anything to do with Gein other than Gein was a serial killer and maybe like some little tiny element of his life, makes it into the movie,
I love Anchor Bay. I had many DVDs from them back in the day. Anchor Bay released Supergirl at one point, both the international and the U.S. cut. Yeah, unfortunately, I only have the U.S. cut of Supergirl, but because I was a late adopter to pick that up. I should have gotten the special edition when it came out with both cuts. But yeah,
and
Supergirl.
Of course, I've told you my story about The Ring and you're watching that on DVD at Home Alone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and the phone rang. Yeah, no, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Well, no, we've talked before on here. We talked about on here before.
Yeah. and I'm pretty sure I mentioned to everybody if you like those serial killer movies like Scream, make sure you check out Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. That's one of those ones that flies under a lot of people's radars. And Big Al, if you haven't seen it, I'd love to see a review from you. I'm probably going to end up doing a what do you call it? A rewatch of that come Christmas time. Well, maybe Christmas time, but I was going to say come Halloween.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Anchor Bay had a Halloween that came. You could buy the limited edition that came with the TV cut on it, with the extra scenes. That was pretty neat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I could ramble on for 2 hours about DVD, but we may get back to DVD with an article at the end. So, but no, DVD was cool, and it kind of still is. It's just that now Blu-ray and 4K have kind of taken over as the new go-to where you're expecting all the new stuff to come out on. But it's
Matt Inouye was speculating that a good chunk of the horror villains were inspired by killers. I think that sometimes there are, and you'll hear an author or writer say, yeah, I read this article about this killer. It made me think this, and tells, to tell people what his inspirational process is, his creative process. I think also there are some times when they come up with some story completely from nothing, and then people make comparisons and they go, oh yeah, I was inspired by that, not even having known anything about it in advance.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing though. Remember how you were saying how Laserdiscs were double-sided?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Early DVDs were also double-sided.
Actually, some that come out right now are too. Usually for the purpose of giving you both widescreen and full screen.
Yes, but even earlier than that, I remember I think I got a free copy of Stargate, and that you actually had to flip the disc to watch the second half. Later on, companies came up with what was known as dual layering. I think Warner Brothers might have pioneered it, or they put out one of the first discs. I think LA Confidential was one of the first dual layer discs where, because I think usually Warner Brothers, I think they figured out that you could put the special features on one side and put the movie on one side, but then they didn't like doing that, so they came up with dual layering. Yep. That's why if you ever break a DVD, you sort of see how there are multiple layers in it. I think that's what. Well,
if you ever write a DVD, your writing program will say writing layer 1, writing layer 2.
Yeah.
In fact, come to think of it, I'm pretty sure that when I first got Braveheart, I think that was one where, oh no, I take that back. That was 2 discs. You literally had to watch one disc and then put in the second disc to finish watching.
Same thing with the Lord of the Rings expanded editions. You had to, which in some ways helps because it breaks up those movies.
Yeah.
All right, but like I said, I could go on for hours. But we are talk about. I'm going to start off with the box office because that was a late article.
Yeah, this one was. I saw this after I'd already sent you the notes. I literally saw it as I was putting the thumbnail together for you, and I was like, we got to get this in there.
Look at this. We got Top Gun Maverick. This movie will not quit.
Yep.
This may be movie of the year at the rate it's going.
This one, I don't know about, what. Honestly, I haven't been paying as close attention as I should to what.
I know there's Avatar. There's another Avatar movie coming.
But the box office has been incredible. It's past $1 billion. It's going like mad, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. Don't give me this crap about Lightyear and anything pandemic related, because I will turn around and say, look at Maverick. That's just soaring,
So here's what it says. Paramount Skydance's Top Gun Maverick has raced past the 1 billion mark worldwide, becoming only the second movie of the pandemic era to reach such rarefied air. And Tom Cruise's first time to the milestone in a career that spanned 40 years. It took just 31 days from aviators to get to $1 billion for the aviators to get to $1 billion, with the total through Sunday at an estimated 1.006 billion worldwide, including domestics estimated 521.7 million and 484.7 million from the international box office. Cruise's Flying Ace has already raced across 900 million last Monday, and a few days prior topped 800 million to become Cruise's biggest movie ever globally. So it's doing well.
Auditor Dread asked if you and I had both seen Maverick and Jurassic World. I don't know about you, Boomer, but I haven't seen either. I actually have no interest in seeing Jurassic World, and although I do want to see Maverick, I have been incredibly friggin' lazy. That's the only reason I haven't gotten out to see it.
No, I've been meaning to see it. I was going to take my mom to see it, but she's been busy. So I do want to see it before it's out of theaters. Obviously, I feel kind of. I'm always, but I'm glad it's doing well, and I look forward to seeing it in theaters. Apparently, even a couple weeks ago, from what people I worked with were telling me, it was hard to get. Those theaters were packed.
Well, good. That just means it's got enough legs. I mean, if you can't get in to see it one weekend because it's packed, you're going to go back the next weekend, and it's going to continue to do great. And so it's probably going to hang around for a while. I'd say it's not going to be leaving theaters anytime soon. I'm not saying don't get out and see it as soon as you can if you haven't. If you really, really want to see it in the theater, don't wait. But you probably do have some time.
I'm sure they'll keep it around for 4th of July. I'm sure.
Good point. Excellent point. That might be the weekend that I actually get around to seeing it.
But yeah, no, the only reason I haven't seen it because
I don't know about you, but I've never been one to go to fireworks displays myself. I've gone to a couple, and I've gotten eaten alive by mosquitoes, and I hate that. And then one year, Nanette and I went, and we went with some friends. It was like right on the lake, and they set off the fireworks from this island that's out in the lake. And again, the mosquitoes. And we got a few fireworks, and then it stopped, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. And then the island where they were setting off the fireworks, I could see flames, and the flames got bigger and bigger. And then there was a bunch of explosions, and I'm like, yeah, we're getting the frick out of here. We've never gone to see fireworks again ever.
Really? Yeah, they do them sometimes here around the beach areas. It's not bad.
That's fine if you can see them like from the safety of your home, or on TV or something like that. No,
I got you. Okay.
I don't need to physically be there to
it's all right.
But yeah, so maybe for 4th of July instead of something like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, Annetta and I have the school right next to us sets off fireworks. For Streamwood, Illinois. I don't really live in Chicago, people. I actually live in Streamwood, Illinois. It's but why bother telling anyone that? Because who's ever heard of Streamwood?
What's Streamwood?
Exactly. It's way out. Well, fairly way out west from the city of Chicago proper. But anyway, the Streamwood High School sets off the fireworks, and everyone in the towns around it. They either come here or they go to Schaumburg, which is bigger. And so we could go out in our backyard and watch the fireworks, but again, the mosquitoes. So we kind of stay inside, look through the picture window. Well, but they set them off at the school, don't they? Oh, so it's further down than the school. We never leave our backyard to watch them, so I didn't know how far away they were. There you go. Learned something. I learned something.
And he says, I don't like loud noises. We are Venom. Funny. Yeah, if you know Spider-Man comics, you get what he's
exactly.
Netflix news. Netflix axes another 300 staff, taking total layoffs to more than 450.
Yeah, things are not going well at Netflix. We were just talking, was it last week or the week before, about how many subscribers they had lost. They are not doing well at all.
Yeah. Netflix has laid off an additional 300 employees. The news Thursday comes after Deadline revealed in May that redundancies were underway, with an initial 150 positions eliminated as a result of the slowdown in the company's revenue growth. Today, we sadly let go of around 300 employees, a Netflix spokeswoman told Deadline. While we continue to invest significantly in the business, we made these adjustments so that our costs are growing in line with our slower revenue growth. We are so grateful for everything they have done for Netflix and are working hard to support them through this difficult transition. We're hearing that the cuts are impacting a number of different teams, mostly in the United States, but also in Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Latin America, including the company's legal and product divisions. Netflix has a global workforce of around 11,000. So it's not just in the United States. It's all over the place, I guess. The latest layoffs come after Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers during its first quarter. It started making staff cuts in April, with a number of staffers laid off at its fan site Tudum before cutting roles in its United States content teams. Netflix's stock has fallen sharply after the streamer reported its global subscriber base decline, its first drop in more than a decade. Wall Street also had expected more from the streaming giant in terms of revenue, with a consensus among analysts calling for $7.93 billion. Netflix reported $7.868 billion in revenue in quarter one, up less than 10% from a year ago. However, investors didn't immediately react to the news today. Netflix shares entered the back half of the trading day down a fraction. They have risen from their 52-week low, but they have lost more than 2/3 of their value over the past few months. That sounds like a lot to me. But what do I know?
Well, what's funny is this isn't news, and this is why I didn't share it with you initially, but as I was putting the thumbnail together, I accidentally stumbled on an older article from 2018 that I think is kind of related. Real quick, I'll be real quick, just a little excerpt. A Bloomberg article revisits the early days of Netflix, during which similarly opaque management dictum governed hiring and firing. CEO Reed Hastings and then HR chief Patty McCord wanted to encourage independent decision-making among employees, but also retain only those who were highly effective. As a result, they nurtured a culture in which even longtime employees were ruthlessly evaluated. If they were no longer the best at their role, at least in the eyes of their management, they were let go. Ultimately, the corporate mindset cost McCord her job. When Hastings questioned whether he'd retain McCord for her own job, he realized he wouldn't, so he fired her. Netflix now has a formal tool called 360, which allows anyone at the company to review anyone else, including Hastings. The tool also provides context for everyone on why someone was let go, which also feeds into Netflix's original 5-year rules for the company. Among them, share information openly, broadly, and deliberately, and be extraordinarily candid with each other. The article is titled Netflix's Unique Culture of Termination That Employees Seem to Like. I don't know. From what I just read, that's the core of the article. That doesn't sound like something I would like. All of my peers evaluating me. You don't like something about me, you're gonna, this sounds like the perfect storm for modern cancel culture. So as I read this 2018 article and what's happened in the past 4 years, and now I look at all the people getting let go from Netflix, I think, yeah. Yeah, I think Netflix is seeing some something's coming home to roost here.
I was thinking Netflix, it doesn't have the back catalog that like a lot of these other streaming services have, do they?
No. We've been saying all along that the biggest problem is that Netflix had always been, they dominated in the rental market when they could license DVDs, the actual physical media from, the studios for rental subscription, and you could rent whatever that way. So, it was kind of a way of bypassing the local store, and the studios would get that rental, not directly, but they would capitalize on the rental of their videos through the licensing through Netflix better than they did from, the blockbusters and the Hollywood videos and so forth. So honestly, Netflix was the next step after those, and that's when Hollywood Video and Blockbuster and those pretty much went out of business. And then from there, they went from the physical media to the streaming with the same basic model, the same licensing concept. But then as those primary companies, Paramount and Disney and Hulu and all these other ones started, putting out their own material, or their, parent company that owned them, their material, they started pulling those licenses from Netflix. And I said a long time ago, this is going to be the end of Netflix if Netflix doesn't start seriously branching into the, Netflix original concept. And they did a little bit, some of it through acquisition, but not enough, and not enough good stuff. They started putting out movies about, a guy getting pregnant and, little girls dancing sexy and stuff like that. That's done really friggin' well for them, right?
And Dear White People, that was another one. Remember that?
Yeah. So instead of going after capitalizing the market and literally winning the streaming war, they went into the propaganda business. And I think that's another element that's coming back to screw them. So they're losing the content that people want to see. They're only putting out shit nobody wants to see. And they're losing subscribers hand over fist. So when they start downsizing, no big shock. That's economics 101. You're not making the money. People aren't subscribing. Get rid of the jobs.
We have more news, though. Ads are officially coming to Netflix.
And there's the other side of the coin, right? That leads in perfectly. You aren't making money off your license, your licensed products. You're not making money off of subscribers. So you got to get as much money as you can, right? So now you're going to be paying for the right to watch movies with commercials. Congratulations. Cable has come back, or at least the cable model has.
Well, not the premium channel model, which is what I always look at streaming as. This is like the new premium channels that we used to have in the old days of cable. Remember, like your HBO, your Showtime, even Disney Channel was a premium channel at one point.
Yep, but now that's going away too, because now if you want to have Netflix, you're going to pay for Netflix, and you're going to be getting commercials as well.
Yeah. So here we go. After 3 years of resisting advertisements on its streaming platform, Netflix is introducing commercials to its service. Netflix company CEO Ted Sarandos confirmed on Thursday that the company would begin testing an ad-supported lower-price subscription tier. The streaming company is speaking to multiple potential partners to help ease its entrance into the ad world, Sarandos said while speaking at the International Ad Festival Cannes Lions. Those partners reportedly include Comcast, NBC Universal, and Google. Sarandos' confirmation comes in the midst of a rough year for Netflix as competition among entertainment services grows more intense. The streaming giant lost subscribers for the first time in a decade, faced a backlash for cracking down on password sharing, and laid off over 150 employees. Well, more than that, obviously, now. We've left a big customer segment off the table, which is people who say, hey, Netflix is too expensive for me, and I don't mind advertising, Sorrento said. We're adding an ad tier. We're not adding ads to Netflix as you know it today. So I guess
that's what
this
they
will be
say,
like the
but this is
model.
how it starts. This is how it starts. And it just escalates from here. And as they lose more and more subscribers, they will, increase the ads, and eventually, you won't have any premium anymore. It'll all have ads, and pretty much they're going to end up going away. I think there's no doubt about it. My further prediction is, again, one that I made a long time ago. You are going to start seeing all of the other services having ads as well. But I think instead of them starting to lose people over the price and the commercials and the so forth, I think you're going to start seeing them as they start to take hits in their revenue from subscribers. You're going to start seeing them combining, is what I think is going to happen. And this is the way the war is going to go, people. I think eventually 2 or 3 streaming services are going to start licensing material from others. And I think you're going to see, I don't know, if Disney can turn their shit around, you might still see Disney and Amazon and maybe one other, and they will be buying up the rights to carry other companies' products. Like I could totally see Disney licensing Sony Pictures films to carry on their platform.
Here's what happens. You have
Matanui basically just becoming cable all over again, and this is something that's been predicted by most people in the industry for a very long time. Yeah,
old sins cast long shadows. Hey, I have nothing to do. I went to that bot site just a couple times, just for research.
No, he was talking about Netflix.
Oh, okay.
The 2018 article I was
getting attacked by bots promising naked chicks, but they spelled naked wrong. It's NEKKID. Okay.
Well, that's how I spell it. That's how I say it. That girl's naked.
Here's the problem, though. Who do we have in streaming? We got Paramount Plus, which is crap, but maybe it'll get better. I'm sorry. That's where you go for your CBS shows, which you could watch on CBS.
Which I don't even watch on CBS for free, so screw them.
Okay. Then you have 100 Star Trek series and Tulsa King. We'll talk about that later. That looks promising. You have, and I guess supposedly you should be able to get movies from the Paramount back catalog. I noticed that Back to the Beach was getting a Blu-ray release, and I'm wondering, I haven't seen Back to the Beach in ages. I'm going to see if that's on Paramount Plus. Nope. Back to the Back to the Beach, Annette Funicello.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
You remember it was a comedy. It was about like anyway. It was a good '80s comedy. I thought it's like they're, but no, it's not on there. But like Amazon, they bought the MGM back catalog. That's a lot to work with, including old TV shows. So even let's say I'm on HBO Max and I'm not liking a lot of the new content, there's still a lot of old content on there I can watch. A whole Warner Brothers back catalog. And as long as you have that back catalog, that will keep people there. Do I want to get rid of it? Maybe I'm not liking this latest HBO series, but they got all the Dirty Harry movies on there, plus a bunch of other stuff, and it's just convenient. But Netflix doesn't have that, right?
As far as I know,
they just have their original stuff. And in fact, Netflix used to be that. They used to be the place you go and watch a lot of old movies. It's not just about what's new. It's also about people just being able to catch the old stuff. Yeah. Age Boomer has been researching things online for some exactly. Just looking at all the sick behavior people have. I'm kidding. Okay. Wednesday, first look at
that's Thing just in the news these days.
Tim Burton, first look at Thing and Tim Burton's Netflix Addams Family series. It's funny. I always look at the old Addams Family movies like they were Tim Burton movies, but they weren't.
Right.
But they feel like Tim Burton movies.
They sure do. Yes. They have absolutely a Tim Burton aesthetic to it. But that's, I think, the nature of Addams Family. That would have been, actually, I was about to say that would have been a perfect match, the Addams Family and Tim Burton, but I'm not so sure that's true because Dark Shadows.
Oh, the not so good old days. I was looking forward to Dark Shadows.
Netter was too. I took her to see it, and I was like,
even if he was doing it as a spoof, I could still see it being good.
Exactly, but it wasn't. It was somewhere in between.
Yeah,
it was somewhere between a serious film interpretation and a spoof. It was kind of half in, half out, and it didn't come off very well.
Like I wanted to like that movie because I'm a big fan of Dark Shadows.
Me too.
I was more into the Ben Cross series than the old show.
I know, me too. Yeah.
But I used to watch. I was catching like the tail end of the old show when it was on PBS or something. I think they showed reruns on PBS for some reason. Yeah. And there's a soap I can get into. Werewolves, right. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type guy, vampires. My
mom told me that she was watching Dark Shadows when she brought me home from the hospital. When I was born.
Yeah.
And so I can't say that I grew up with it because I don't remember watching it. But then when I was dating Netter, she was telling me about what a big Dark Shadows fan she was, and how she started going to the first convention she went to was a Dark Shadows convention. Honestly, the story of me and Nanette starts with her going to a Dark Shadows convention that led her to going to Star Trek conventions, and that's where we met.
So. Interesting.
Yeah.
My mom named her dog, the first family dog, before it was born, but first family dog's name was Barney after Barnabas Collins.
Barnabas, nice. That's really cool. That's really cool.
But yeah, no, big fan of Dark. I was expecting the Tim Burton movie to be. I thought this is perfect. Johnny Depp was a big fan of the old show, and Tim Burton was. I'm like, this can work, and they're setting it. Period. And I was even thinking, even if they're doing it as a comedy, you might be able to still have fun with it as a comedy. And I just didn't like it because I like the idea of him saying stuff like, oh, you're 13, you need to be getting married already. Though you got birthing hips, or he made something you might have said in colonial times.
Exactly. Not the kind of joke you could really get away with these days, though.
No, of course not. Because
we'll get a little bit more into that as we go on.
Everyone has a stick up their butt. I'm sorry, did I say anything? Okay. Anyway, let's get into we have a Wednesday Addams series coming to Netflix. We're getting a first look at The Thing. The disembodied hand featured in Wednesday, Tim Burton's live-action Addams Family series from Netflix. Netflix dropped the 27-second teaser Wednesday on social media ahead of Geeked Week next week, captioned, "Enjoy this marketing ploy."
And I'll bet they didn't even ask you to host it.
Funny. Yeah, no.
Jeez.
No. The coming-of-age comedy written by Smallville creators Al Gough and Miles Miller and directed by Burton. So this is kind of neat. You got the Smallville creators doing it. You got Tim Burton. Stars Jenny Ortega as Wednesday. She was in the latest Scream movie. She played a teenager in that, so I'm assuming she's younger. So I could see her in the role. Adams. So she's playing Wednesday Adams during her years at Nevermore Academy. It's described as a sleuthing, supernatural infused mystery in the series. Wednesday attempts to master her emerging psychic ability, thwart a monstrous killing spree that has terrified the local town, and solve the supernatural mystery that embroiled her parents 25 years ago, all while navigating her new and very tangled relationships at Nevermore. I just hope they keep the humor, keep the dark humor, right?
Yeah. I also have to wonder.
Don't turn into a soap, you know.
I have to wonder if somebody didn't decide to do this based on that YouTube series by Melissa Hunter.
Oh, I have
Adult
no doubt.
Wednesday.
I have no doubt,
guys. I don't even wait for the Netflix thing. I'm dropping a link to the 2 seasons that were made of Adult Wednesday Addams. Melissa Hunter is an actress who made this basically as a fan film, and she did this with her own money, and then she got a cease and desist and had to quit. But it's worth checking out. Yeah. Yep. Check it out. I even went to the bother of downloading them and writing them to a DVD just because who knows if, everyone who puts it up is going to have it struck down. So I wanted to make sure I could hold on to it.
Yeah, no, I know. Just in case, and that who knows, that may happen when this new show comes out. So you may want to just get on that. I guess Netter got the bots already because I couldn't block them. So okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Unless
Netter
they're unstoppable.
Netter and I are tag teaming, and Deleted Scenes has been trying to help out, but he said he's got lag in his Wi-Fi. So.
No, don't worry about it.
Best. That's what a team of blue wrenches are for.
You would think maybe YouTube, with all their scrutiny of different channels on the site, they might be able to stop things like this.
I'm afraid for them to start looking too closely, because then they might start, censoring our regular viewers if they say something that the overlords don't like.
Gotcha. So there's no reason this Wednesday Addams series has to be bad. Let's just hope there are no intimacy scenes on it. I could just see Gomez and Morticia.
Well, then you can if you are so inclined, forget about the bots. Go search for a very Adult Wednesday Addams. That's an entirely different video. Yeah.
Who would you cast as Gomez on the show? You're going to be a good actor for Gomez.
Oh, Antonio Banderas?
Maybe. Yeah, I can see
that.
No.
Oh, who's that comedian? He's a Latin comedian.
Right.
Oh, shit.
There are a few of those.
Darn it. Can't remember his name. I don't know. Yeah. It's gonna drive me crazy, and I'll think of it like tomorrow morning.
Well, you can mention it later. We have to get on
I'll put it in the comments below, because that's always engagement, right?
We have to go to a real life Addams Family situation. I'm sorry.
Oh God.
Oh, right? Ezra. Like I said, I have to turn this into a series now. I'm thinking about clipping all these to make them into a series.
He is
ridiculous.
The gift that gives content creators continuously. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's that, but frankly, I'm feeling a little troubled by what I'm reading, and it's not
getting worse, doesn't it?
This isn't good. Someone's going to get hurt or killed. And
this is one of those situations where if something happens, I totally blame law enforcement for not getting involved here.
Oh, please. I mean, I know. So I think there's hands tied here. So
my understanding is that there's actually a warrant out for his arrest right now, and they can't find the freak.
Javier Bardem to play Gomez. I could see that. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A Massachusetts court has approved a temporary protection order against the Flash star Ezra Miller, according to reports. Okay. So you're probably wondering what this
George
is all
Lopez.
about.
That's who I was thinking of. Sorry.
Who? It's all right. I'll look for his act. Okay.
Yeah.
A Massachusetts court has approved a temporary protection. Okay. I already said that, didn't I? Okay. The Greenfield District Court approved the order against Miller, 29, on Wednesday on behalf of the family of a 12-year-old. NBC News reported the order was issued without advance notice because the court determined that there is a substantial likelihood of immediate danger of harassment, according to the petition obtained by the outlet. The mother of the 12-year-old, who spoke to NBC News on the condition of anonymity, claimed she grew concerned when Miller began to buy gifts for the child even after the gifts had been rejected. I kept wondering why Ezra was here. Like, don't you have Hollywood stuff to do? Don't you have movies coming out? The mother told NBC News.
Not really.
Well, we'll see about that, the way things are going. A representative for the actor did not respond to Fox News' Digital's immediate request for comment. This is not the first protective order approved against the Justice League star. A court approved a protective order against Miller on behalf of Chase Iron Eyes and his wife, Sarah Jumping Eagle. The two claim Miller physically and emotionally abused their teenager, Dakota Iron Eyes. The parents have accused the Flash star of psychologically manipulating, physically intimidating, and endangering the safety and welfare of Dakota Iron Eyes, according to the petition obtained by Fox News Digital. While the court approved the protective order on June 7th, the court has not been able to locate or serve Miller, according to the Los Angeles Times. Chase told the LA Times that he and the court have no idea knowing where Dakota and Ezra are to gain help from other jurisdictions. They move around so much that we're stuck in this legal limbo situation, and we can't serve them in any place they're in long enough, Chase told the Los Angeles Times. They've been flighty, they've been avoiding service, and now there's public pressure mounting on them to make a decision, which makes us very concerned about Ezra's volatile nature. We're working very hard to get this order enforced wherever they are. Miller was recently arrested twice in Hawaii. The Justice League star pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct. So what do you think so far?
I think the guy scares me.
He seems unstable, if that's the proper word to use right now.
Yep.
And I'm worried about people. Okay, so let's see here. So Ezra has choked a woman in Iceland, assaulted a group in a bar, threatens the owners of a hostel he was staying in Hawaii, has 2 cases of grooming, and now this Vermont cult of guns, weed, and kids. Yes, we're going to get right to that now.
Yeah.
I can imagine Zaslav is pulling hair out. Right? It's going to be like Dr. Scratch and Sniff on Animaniacs.
I would imagine, yes.
Can you imagine being in that position? Inheriting this? What do you do with Flashpoint?
I think the more that comes with every headline we get regarding Ezra, I think we get closer and closer to just scrap the whole fucking thing and start over again.
Yeah. Use what footage you can and just cast a new actor.
Exactly.
Guns, bullets, and weed. Ezra Miller housing the 3 young children and their mother at a Vermont farm. Yeah, this is from Rolling Stone. I did clip of it from this article because there's a long article, but I think I got the gist of it. Ezra Miller has been hosting a 25-year-old mother and her 3 young children at their Vermont farm, a living arrangement that worries the children's father as well as 2 others with knowledge of the situation, Rolling Stone has learned. 2 sources with knowledge of the situation expressed concern to Rolling Stone that it is an unsafe environment for children, alleging that there are unattended guns strewn around the home on Miller's 96-acre property. One source who, like the other, requested anonymity for fear of retribution, recalled an instance where one of the children, a 1-year-old, allegedly picked up a loose bullet and put it in her mouth.
Yeah.
Question for you, Troy.
That.
Is there any likelihood that could go off? If I guess a 1-year-old can't bite into it and set the charge off. I guess
it is theoretically possible, but so improbable as to be. No, it is far more likely that a child is going to choke on it than set off the cap that triggers it.
Understand?
It really does take a great deal of pressure, sharp pressure to cause that to go off, and you're not going to do that by biting it. In fact, by biting it, if you put enough bite force on it, what you could cause to happen is the casing could be separated from the bullet itself, and you end up with gunpowder in your mouth, which I don't know that it's poisonous, but that's also not really a good situation either.
Didn't Blackbeard drink gunpowder in his rum?
We're talking like a little tiny bit,
Okay, I'm just saying.
like salt in a margarita. We're not talking, yeah, no, it's not that bad. He was, that he was more likely to die from a cannonball through the gut, or being stabbed by a cutlass, than anything else. I don't think he was worried about being poisoned.
Okay, but the mother, who, like the father, Rolling Stone is not naming, claims that Miller had helped her escape from a violent and abusive ex, and Miller helped me finally have a safe environment for my 3 very young children. Okay, Ezra's home ranch has been a healing haven for us, she tells Rolling Stone. They may have firearms for self-defense purposes, and they are stored in a part of the house that the children never go in. My kids are able to relax more in their healing, because of the safety and nurturing Ezra has been providing for them. The mother and hold on. The mother and children aged 1 to 5 have been living at Miller's Stamford, Vermont farm since mid-April. The actor met the woman in Hilo, Hawaii, which Miller had been visiting in March. The embattled actor, who was set to star in Warner Brothers' anticipated The Flash, racked up a string of arrests while in Hawaii, causing an emergency meeting with studio executives about their future with the franchise. Miller is non-binary and uses they/them pronouns. In the midst of
making every article you read about him a freaking nightmare to understand.
In the midst of that unfolding crisis, the children's father claims to Rolling Stone that Miller secured a flight out of Hawaii for the woman and her children, allegedly without the father's knowledge. He claims he has not been able to see or speak with his children since their departure. Isn't that illegal? Like, don't both parents have a say, at least unless there's been a custody thing happening?
No.
Okay.
If the kids are resident with their mother,
all right.
Yeah, it gets really murky, and it's not something that any sane person would get in the middle of.
The father would have to have had primary custody, and then if she ran off with him, that would be more of a legal matter.
Yeah, then you could say, because then you have a kidnapping case basically, and then harboring, a kidnapper and stuff. But that doesn't seem to be the case here.
I got a bad feeling in my stomach, the father says. I do want to get my kids. They mean the effing world to me. Yeah. Representatives from Miller did not reply to a request for comment.
Now that sounds like what he's got is a case for denial of visitation. So he definitely has a case for going after the mother for that. I don't think at this time he has any case against Ezra. Ezra literally just represents like a landowner or whatever, a landlord,
I guess.
So I mean, but yeah, this is a situation when you have a family situation like this, a domestic situation, this only can get worse.
I know that somewhere else I cut this out of the article because it was too long, but there was a point in it that she had filed I think spousal abuse charges against him or something like that against the husband, but none of them showed up to court on the day of the thing, so they got dropped.
Once again, we're dealing with a situation that unless it actually gets resolved in court, we don't know what the actual truth is.
We don't.
In the whole Amber Johnny thing aside, anyone who's ever worked in family law will tell you accusations of domestic not nicitude are very common, and they are not always well-founded.
So the mother says she's still living at Miller's farm with her children. The 2 sources who confirmed seeing children there with their mother described it as a chaotic environment that is unsafe for children. Video footage from April reviewed by Rolling Stone appears to show at least 8 assault weapons, rifles, and handguns lying around the living room, with some weapons propped up next to a pile of stuffed animals. The 2 sources also allege that there has been frequent and heavy marijuana use in front of the children, with little concern about proper ventilation. Rolling Stone has also learned that there is a sizable cannabis farm on Miller's property, with Miller's close friend and purported handyman Whitney suitors, claiming on social media that the two were running a cannabis company called Rebel Alliance Cannabis.
Yeah.
I guess that's a Star Wars reference. I think he would have used a DC reference since that's what he's tied to, or maybe a Fantastic Beast reference, but like Dumbledore's doobies.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like that? Okay, we'll move on. Numerous photos posted to Suitor's social media page indicate there is a far greater number of marijuana plants that Vermont's permitted to mature plants or for immature plants that private citizens can own. So apparently he's breaking the law by the amount of plants he has on the property. Suitors told one Facebook friend that there were at least 28 different strains growing for a fall 2021 harvest. It sounds like he's breaking all kinds of laws.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I you know, I've read a report that there's a warrant out for him. I don't know exactly what that warrant is for, but you just make it worse if you don't allow them to serve you and you don't turn yourself in. It just gets worse.
Miller's Farm
literally makes you a fugitive.
Yeah, he says Miller Farm is not around the state's 25 licensed cultivators that are allowed to grow more than 6 plants. Yeah, he's breaking the law. Father claims he's been trying to remove his children from the farm since April after learning of the alleged weapons and drug use at Miller's property in mid-May. He called Vermont's Department of Children and Families and local police to carry out wellness checks. I mean, I don't know anything about the husband and wife, the mother and father. They could both be a hot mess. One could be worse than the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this is not a good situation for the children to be in. And apparently he called the Vermont Department of Children and Families and local police to carry out wellness checks. Did they go over there? Rolling Stone has reviewed text messages between the father and a number registered to a Vermont social worker who said in the text that they had visited the house on May 16th and the kids looked good, noting the worker had more work to do. It's not clear if the social worker returned to the home. In a request for comment, DCF said it does not provide information regarding visits to homes. Vermont State Police did not respond to requests for comments.
The same people that trust children's welfare to DCFS are the same people that think you shouldn't own a gun because police exist.
Yeah,
that's just what it comes down to, because it's true. They are bureaucrats. There are only so many of them with more work going on than they can get to when time is of the essence and lives are on the line. And that's why you hear all these horrible stories about children dying in terrible circumstances when DCFS has known about the situation for a very long time.
I refuse to use the term they, them to identify as Ezra Miller. They, them implies multiple people. I will not feed into his psychological problems. Oh, I would be shocked if we find out he's got multiple personalities going on.
Well,
I think Warner Brothers needs to remove him and recast. I think they're dragging their feet. How can they reform his image at this point?
They can't. And they don't have any interest in doing so. He is not important enough to them to invest the time and energy. When you have a bigger name star that is accused of some horrible things and they get canceled and whatever happens, you see them maybe a decade later come back because studios feel that they are valuable enough and talented enough and worthwhile enough to, in quotes, rehabilitate. But this kid has done nothing that anyone cares about enough. The only thing that makes him at all marketable is his bullshit identification, and honestly, the studio has dragged their feet on dealing with him specifically because of that reason. And congratulations. Now you've earned the shit you have to deal with, Warner Brothers.
This point, forget his pronouns when he's a criminal. Yeah, but he can't. For some reason, he could do all this stuff, and he's
his only. As far as I'm concerned, his only pronoun needs to be inmate.
I have a question. What is going on? They can't serve him, and that's part of the problem here.
If they can't find him, they can't serve him.
Well, how is he hiding? But how is he hiding if he's at the farm? Or is he not at the farm now?
I don't know. And that's another point that I'm getting at. Where's the priority here? This is one of those kind of, yes, I understand if this was not a Hollywood personality, if this was just Joe Nobody who was coming in between a domestic situation and whatever, the police would not be spending a great deal of energy or whatever on this. This is high profile. And whatever happens with this, people will look very closely at the police department and say, why didn't you do something?
Yeah.
So,
especially if you have a 5-year-old around a pile of guns and thinking maybe this is a toy I can play around with.
When everybody's talking about it on social media, when it's in the media, there's got to be a police chief going, maybe I should get somebody on this. You think?
Like now? Oh, I don't know how he finds time to do all this. It's like he's committing multiple crimes at once. It's like the Dakota thing is bad enough with her, but well, I guess that's not her pronoun now. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
I don't care how she identifies. She started out as a she when all
Ezra told her she's not a she, so she's not a she anymore. It's what Ezra says she is. That's basically what happened. And
Ezra identifies as a free man, and apparently that's going to continue for.
I wonder if he has like a cult leader persona or something. Is this why people are falling under him?
Definitely sounds that way. Yeah.
This is not good. Warner Brothers, you need to drop this guy.
To not go well.
I'm worried for those kids. I'm sorry. They're in danger.
I'm concerned about anyone who might drink any Kool-Aid that he's making.
Oh. Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts on Ezra Miller though? Do you think Warner Brothers is going to drop him?
I hope so for their sake. I really, really do.
And Zaslav, you need to take a look at DC
There is
Comics.
nothing good that is coming from anything that Ezra touches.
Yeah. And Zaslav, take a look in DC Comics. You're wanting DC to become a big brand.
And look,
you need to see what they're doing on the comics side.
Just in case somebody comes along and listens to this video at some point in the future and accuses me in any way of being disingenuous, because I always say innocent until proven guilty. When you have a lot of accusations, an innocent person needs to stand up and fight for their reputation. And this one is purposely going out of his way. He closed down his Instagram because he was putting up Instagram posts that were literally taunting the police. And look, at this point, he's all but confessing to his guilt. He's thumbing his nose at the situation, and I'll tell you, he's proven guilty of being an asshole is what he's proven guilty of.
I don't know what SNL is doing lately, but they should do. They could have like a skit of Ezra Miller coming to a children's hospital dressed as the Flash, and it being a total disaster. But
they'd have to be really careful about that. I agree with you, but they would have to. They don't have the talent to do something funny enough to make that work.
That's what they would have done back in the day, though.
True.
The DEA and the ATF have jurisdiction. Time for them to kick in the door. I agree. I mean, this is apparently this is right up their wheelhouse. It's like you're advertising. Hey, I am not following.
Now here's where I do need to step in and be intellectually honest and consistent. I have some serious problems with government 3-letter acronym.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think the DEA and the ATF should cease to exist. Period. So,
but I think what he's saying though is this is right in their wheelhouse of something they go after, and they're not doing.
Well, but this is why I have a problem with them. DEA and ATF are going to go after you if you go to the Capitol and you try to protest peacefully, but they're not going to do thing one if you happen to be a they them or a different color.
Do you think that's what it is?
Absolutely. No one wants to touch Ezra Miller because he has the they-them community behind him.
If I were part of that community, I would want to stay clear of Ezra Miller. But we already saw him choke a woman on the video, and he never addressed it. That is ridiculous.
I am not going to spend a lot of that is bad PR, and that's all it is. Because unless that woman comes forward, presses charges, and says something, that's nothing more than.
Do you think
PR.
she was paid off?
If she was, it must not have been that bad a situation to her. The point is, if she was abused in some way, and any amount of money was able to keep her shut up, then she must not have been abused all that badly.
I have to say, when this sort of thing happens and you don't come forward, you're putting other people in danger. Like
that's another thing
now.
too. Yeah. And this is what a lot of abuse victims have been told. If you keep quiet for whatever your own reasons are, you really do empower them to go out there and do that to somebody else. And yes, that may sound like blaming the victim, but you know, the good that men, you know, what is it? When the only thing
evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's exactly right. And you actually aid and abet if you keep your mouth shut.
All right. So moving on from Ezra Miller to Michael Jackson.
Oh God, no. That is not the transition you should be going with.
I'm sorry, Sonic the Hedgehog. We like Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Sonic the Hedgehog.
I agree with you there.
Major movie star now, 2 hit movies under the Sonic banner. Good family movies if you're wanting to escape maybe from the House of Mouse. Show your kids Sonic 1 and 2. They're good family movies, and the kids apparently like Sonic now too. Not sure how much Sega likes Sonic now. I'm kidding, of course. Brad Buxer reconfirms Michael Jackson involvement with Sonic 3's soundtrack. I have to give a little bit of a backstory here on Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Okay, more Sonic 3. For a long time, many years ago, some gaming journalist, Sterno or somewhere said, "Hey, I heard rumor there's a thing that Michael Jackson wrote some of the tunes for Sonic 3. Michael Jackson was a huge fan of Sega back in the 90s, Sega games. And he even basically when they brought out Space Channel 5 Part 2, he told Sega, put me in the game. And he's actually, he's an actual character in the game. In fact, he was in another Sega game. They made a Sega game off of Moonwalker. Remember the movie Moonwalker?
Yeah, yeah.
And you could actually
did not look like a very good game, though.
Yeah, it was all right. There was also an arcade game which was different. It's funny, at my when I graduated high school, they had like a all-night grad party you could go to, supervised by the teacher. So I went to it, and they had some arcade games there. And one of them was Moonwalker, and all the guys were laughing because I guess one of the characters was, what was his monkey's name or chimpanzee's name or whatever? Didn't he have?
I want to say Beepo, but that was Super.
Was it Monkey. Chuckles or something? I don't know. Anyway, he was there. As soon as I mentioned Michael Jackson, who pops in the chat? Okay, get out of here. All right.
Oh gosh, right?
I'm sorry. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I want to go down the rabbit hole of whether or not you think he was or wasn't.
I don't think it matters anymore
because he's not longer with us.
Seems pointless. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Brad. Oh, I can't even read that title. Hold on.
Brad Buxer reconfirms Michael Jackson's involvement with Sonic 3.
Okay, so there was always a speculation that Michael Jackson wrote tracks for Sonic 3. Then suddenly we noticed that Sonic 3 has now disappeared. It didn't show up in the last Sega Genesis collection released on consoles, and only had Sonic 1 and 2, but no Sonic 3 and no Sonic and Knuckles. People were wondering, why aren't those games on there? And when they released the Sega Genesis Mini, which was like a miniaturized version of the Sega Genesis you could buy, which had 40 games on it, you could plug it into your TV. Sonic 1 and 2, no Sonic 3. And people were wondering, where is Sonic 3? Why isn't it on here? And it gave more credence to this rumor that Michael Jackson had written the songs for this game. And apparently this has now been basically confirmed. All right, so let me read this article. Can anyone think of any video game soundtrack that's been debated over more than Sonic the Hedgehog 3's? The King of Pop, Michael Jackson's involvement has long been debated, with other musicians seemingly confirming that he did indeed help with the game's music in an interview way back in 2016. But this is... What is that? Is that pretzels?
Maybe.
What? Okay, let me finish reading the article. But this has still been contested by other Sega employees. One of those interviewees, Brad Buxer, a keyboardist who worked closely with Michael Jackson in the 90s, recently sat down with the Abbey Road Institute Paris to talk about his involvement in the music industry, including how he got into the industry, his time in the new wave band The Jetsons, and how he met and got to work with Michael Jackson. Naturally, the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack came up, and Buxer discussed his and Michael's involvement with the music, suggesting that Michael Jackson was a bit more hands-off with the process. With stranger mascot Michael Jackson calls me at 10:30 in the morning. I got a knock on his door, and I had under my arm a cassette player. I've been doing all the Sega Sonic the Hedgehog cues because the way Michael works is he'll tell Sega he'll do it, and then he says, "Brad, you do it, right?" So I think we did one cue together with Michael one, and the rest I had to do myself. So I had the cassette on me. I had 41 cues done, and I said, "I'm sure you want to hear this Sonic the Hedgehog." And he said, "No, just play something." And I played the verse for Stranger Moscow, and then I came up with the chorus on the spot, and he loved it. So in an hour and a half, Stranger Moscow was written. Stranger Moscow has often linked closely with Sonic 3, as it's the game end credits theme is extremely similar. Buxer's work on Ice Cap Zone and Carbonite Zone is also linked to some of his previous music, the former in an unreleased Jettison song, the latter with Jackson 1991 song Jam. So this discussion puts the two songs closer together. Michael Jackson isn't credited with composing the music for the game, and Sega has previously denied his involvement, though other sources have claimed that his removal from the project is due to his child molestation allegations. Buxer also claimed in 2016 that the musician wanted his name removed himself if they couldn't get it to sound better. Interesting, this interview, shared at the end of May, comes just before the release of the upcoming Sonic Origins, which will include the first re-release of Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the first time since 2009. Much debate has been held over what music will be used in this new compilation, with no clarification from Sega yet. So this has always been a hotly debated thing, and I thought, well, obviously this isn't the case because we've had Sonic 3 Knuckles get released numerous times, even since the Genesis was out. Like they released this Sonic Mega Collection for all the sixth generation consoles, which had Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles on it. They were intact. They released I'd say Genesis Collection on PlayStation and PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, which had the intact games on there, and they released them on the Wii Virtual Console, and the songs were intact. So, but then this led credence to it, and I don't know if this was. I often theorize that maybe Michael Jackson was such a big Sega fan that he gave them carte blanche to just use the music and not take royalties on it. And now that he's dead, maybe now the estate is saying you better pay up. What do you think?
Well,
I have more coming, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. I have a lot I could say about this. It all comes down to speculation. First is a question of did he or didn't he? Okay, so now we have Brad saying, yeah, he had
guy
something
who worked
to
with
do
Jackson said he was involved. Yes.
However, that doesn't cover to what degree. It doesn't sound like a whole lot. It is the kind of thing that would open up a dialogue of establishing exactly what the percentage is, right? And say, yeah, maybe Michael Jackson deserves 1/20th of the royalties from the music related to Sonic 3. Okay, I don't know, something, right? Or if he felt he contributed more, maybe 1/2. I don't know. This is the kind of thing that they could sit down and bang out if Michael Jackson was alive, because Michael Jackson knows what he did.
So he could say, "Oh, I didn't really do this much," or I did like only a small portion, not enough for you to take royalties from. Or he could even say,
"You know what? I don't think I did enough. I don't care. I don't need it. I'll sign away any rights to it." Or, yes, this is how much I think I deserve. And Brad might say, "You didn't do that much." Maybe it gets down to they got to fight it out in court. It becomes a different thing with Michael Jackson not with us anymore. If his estate now is going to try and do this, how do you fight that? How do you claim exactly how much he deserves? Were you there? You weren't there. Michael Jackson's dead. We think he deserves this much. This is what we're offering. Nope, we want to go to court. Is it worth going to court over? You know? So I don't know, how this plays out. I could see a lot of scenarios. But yes, I believe that something like that is probably going on behind the scenes. What a bizarre thing. But yet I also understand it. When you inherit an estate and you try to make all the money you can off of it, and you'll go after everything. So That's the kind of shit that happens if you don't have these things already taken care of. And you'd think, too, that collaborators would know this. Before you start collaborating with someone, there better be an agreement already.
You better have a signed piece of paper. Like I said, it was the 90s. It's who knows what was going on. Maybe everybody didn't find out that he was working on this stuff. I don't know how it worked. The video game industry back then was a lot smaller than it is now. You would have smaller teams working on things. The companies were smaller. They were making a good profit, but it wasn't like the billion-dollar industry it is today. So that probably has something to do with it. Thank you, Netter. Yeah, I mean, delete. We're both learning. We're having bot wars in the chat tonight, so I will put them in a timeout and I will report them. Okay, what's going on? Okay, next article. Yuji Naka, who is the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, the game series, so Sonic Origins came out recently. It is a high definition re-release of all the Sonic games, including like almost high definition recreations. They still have that pixel art look to them, but they're kind of remade in for the HD screen. So you can play them in widescreen. You can actually play all the games seamless together, where you can play Sonic 1 and then you get a cutscene Sonic 2. It's like you're playing one seamless experience. You understand? There supposedly a lot of bells and whistles added to this collection.
So you don't, in other words, have to start the next game. You literally end one game, go right into the next.
Yeah, it's a mode you can play called story mode. You can also play them by themselves. You can play them in the retro mode, how they were back in the day. It gives you options, but I think the idea was let's give you a whole big Sonic experience you can play through. But apparently there have been some changes made to those games, and can you guess what those changes are?
Probably remove some of the music.
Some of the music is not there that was in the older version, since some of the fans are not happy about this. And the creator was shocked. Yuji Naka is shocked that Michael Jackson's music is missing in Sonic Origins. Yeah.
So that would infer to me that they've been able to determine what music was Michael Jackson's.
Yes.
Or at least what was contested.
Yes, Yuji Naka, co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog and producer on a few of the Sonic's early titles, has obviously joined in with Sonic's birthday celebration of his Twitter account as anything to go by. The former producer seems to have potentially picked up a copy of Sonic Origins, the compilation game that contains all 4 classic Mega Drive Sonic games. Mega Drive was what the Genesis was called in Europe and Japan. Naka worked as a programmer on Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 before also moving into a producer and programmer role for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic and Knuckles. But as many of us have now discovered, Naka is surprised to find out the music for Sonic 3 has changed. His reaction... let's see, his reaction on Twitter was... Did I open it up? Hold on. There we are. They didn't put the post of the article, but they're here. It's like he's mentioning that here's a picture taken of me by the camera when I went to his house in his helicopter. It's pretty faint. I miss it. He's referring to the Neverland Ranch. That's where he was. This the co-creator of Sonic. And he's like, oh my God, the music for Sonic 3 has changed, even though Sega official uses Michael Jackson's music. I'm not sure what he means, but that could be a mistranslation from Japanese. And some guy wrote in a comment, logs on, confirms a rumor that is multiple decades old, doesn't elaborate, leaves. That's what some user claimed about.
Well, and that's the other thing. If you are affiliated with this, anybody who has any sort of professional sense knows not to, put anything on social media. But
no.
I don't think we live in a world that has that level of sense anymore.
No, I'm wondering if in Japan, maybe this is one of these things where in Japan everybody knows, but they said, hush us, don't tell anyone outside of Japan that Michael Jackson is the music for this game. I don't know. Okay, so the reaction on Twitter has a sort of blown up, as this is a producer stating that Michael Jackson indeed contributed music to the title back in '94. Though this has been a hotly debated topic over the years, Michael Jackson collaborated Brad Buxer recently confirmed again that the King of Pop helped to contribute music to the game. This wasn't the last article written. But this hasn't stopped fans and industry members amused reactions to Naka's very honest, seemingly reaction. Well, there you go. Just like that, Yuji Naka says it out loud. If you've yet to pick up Sonic Origins yet or hear the new music tracks, we got you covered. The original music tracks from the Mega Drive Genesis version have been replaced with arrangements of the prototype music. So apparently they're in the prototype version of the game, they had different music tracks that were not used with the final product. those have now replaced the Michael Jackson music.
Honestly, because what choice do they have, right?
And I think they've tried to beef them up a little bit.
Here's what it comes down to. And this is just speculation. I'm not casting any aspersions at the company, but the company doesn't want to pay out any money that they have to.
Oh, yeah.
So they say, well, if you don't have any proof that Michael Jackson contributed, he didn't contribute, and the estate doesn't get anything. Then this dingbat comes out and says, oh yeah, he did. Now you're screwed. So now we're going, okay, fine. We're removing the music because we're not paying anything extra, and we may not work with you ever again.
Well, he's not a dingbat. He's the guy that created Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, no, he's a dingbat because he's putting them in this situation, and he's become a financial liability to the company, such that they may not want to do business with them again in the future.
Possibly, that can happen over there with programs. The guy that created the Metroid and the D-pad for Nintendo, they forced him out in disgrace when his when the Virtual Boy failed.
Look at that guy that invented Space Paranoids. They stole his whole company.
Funny. But anyway, I don't know. I've heard there are other issues with the Sonic Origins game. There's a whole story that broke today that I guess the team programming it, they said Sega did not give them enough time, and it was a rush job to get it released in time for Sonic's birthday, but there are all kinds of bugs with the game. And I think one of the people were complaining that these bugs were not in the version we submitted, so someone over there did not do their diligence. I don't know. This seems like a botched release, but I don't know if you want to play Sonic the Hedgehog with new music, which is not as good as the Michael Jackson's tunes.
I only ever played Sonic 1, so if I could just get an old, console with the original, I'll be happy.
You missed out on the Mega Drive Mini. You could have gotten a plug-and-play one that had that and a bunch of other games on it, but maybe they'll re-release it. You never know.
Never know.
But anyway,
or maybe I can just find some sort of a download and play it on PC.
Actually, no. Yeah, actually, no. You can do that. You do Steam?
Oh yeah, I got a Steam account. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get. There's a whole Genesis collection you can get on there with a ton of games on it, and they've had it on sale. They put it on sale every now and then for real cheap too, and you could get you can even buy a Sega Genesis controller from Retrobit that will work on the PC, and it's like a kind of replica.
I was just going to show my ignorance and ask if such a thing existed. Okay,
I'll send you the link. Yeah, let me know if you ever get the collection. Yeah, it's fairly it's fairly easy to come by. Those old Sega games. Sega, I'll say this for Sega, they do a good job of letting you play a lot of their older titles. But we'll see what happens.
If you can just basically charge a license fee and keep making money off of old stuff, I don't see any reason not to.
Otherwise,
you're a fool to leave money on the table.
Otherwise, people will just bootleg the stuff.
Exactly.
This is something that may be of interest to you because I know you're a fan of those old style point-click adventure games, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they made one in the 90s. I think I mentioned this in our segment on the point-click about the Blade Runner game.
Yep.
And I didn't think this was ever going to come out because this was a Westwood Studios release, the Blade Runner computer game for the late 90s. Westwood Studios made it. They were the people that made Command and Conquer. Electronic Arts buys out Westwood Studios. And apparently when this new team, Night Dive Studios, were trying to do a remaster of the Blade Runner game, they said that EA had lost a bunch of the code for the game. Like it must have got, which in the buyout, a lot of that code got lost. They must have figured out a way to rescue it because they did an HD version of it. And it's pretty nifty. Blade Runner Enhanced Edition was released on Steam. It's also available on major consoles as well, like Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. You can get on there as well. And not a moment too soon, the remastering has been handled by Night Dive Studios, an outfit you could fairly describe as a restoration specialist. While the original game was arguably the crown jewel of the late great Westwood Studios, best known for the Command and Conquer series. A real-time adventure game that is, amusingly enough, set in 2019 Los Angeles, Blade Runner tells its own story within the universe of the cult classic 1982 movie. At the time, it was billed as having one of the richest environments ever created, and it still looks the absolute business. For those unfamiliar with Blade Runner, the title is what people who hunt down replicants, perfectly human androids, are called. The great innovation and still one of the best ideas ever for a licensed game is that each story run through changes which of the characters are replicants. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So depending how you play the game, different characters in the game may end up as replicants. Okay.
Interesting.
This system features over 70 characters, all motion captured, all with their own agendas, and including actors from the 1982 film, including Sean Yun, James Hong, Joe Turkel, Brian James, and William Sanderson. I ran into the James Hong character when I was playing the game last night because I got it on the Xbox, right? And when your detective when your Blade Runner goes up to talk to him, he says, "Busy, busy, have to make eyes, no time to talk." You know, he's doing the whole routine from that, and you're like, "Hey, there's some murders happening, and because you're going after a different group of replicants on the run at the same time Decker is going after Roy and his crew. Okay, so you're going after a different group, and you're a different Blade Runner. No Harrison Ford in the game. Obviously, if they could get the rights to have Harrison Ford do voice acting for the game, they probably just would have had him as the main character.
Sure.
But I like how they did it. It introduces you to another. You realize there are other Blade Runners in Los Angeles, and you learn about other members of the police force as well that he has to deal with that weren't in the movie as well. And it's an interesting little thing because you're getting characters you know from the movie, but also new characters, and other things going on in this world. It's very neat. Anyways, but it says, in other words, it's a detective adventure where the mystery changes each time through. The reason it's held in such high esteem is how all in Westwood went on capturing the movie feel right through the mechanics, as well as the brilliance of the replicants idea. The game features real-time weather that has different effects on your character, endless movie gadgets like the Esper photo analysis machine, the Voight-Kampff replication detection test, and police spinners. You can pull the Voight-Kampff test on different people in the game to see if they're replicants.
Interesting.
And some of the questions are the ones Harrison Ford uses, plus there are other questions written for the game, because apparently, I guess you're pulling from hundreds of questions to ask them and stuff. And it's a fascinating game. Do you know the actress that played Cuddy on House? You remember the show?
Yeah, Cuddy. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's in it. She plays I guess she plays a female Blade Runner in the game, and she's actually flirting with your main character, and like she says, like when she's walking past, she says, "You can stop looking at my ass now." And he says, "Do you have eyes in the back of your head?" And then she says, "All you have to do is ask, Slim." And it's kind of neat. It's that kind of 1940s, you know. I don't want to say femme fatale. There's another name for female characters like that in movies. I want to think like the Lauren Bacall type characters and those. Anyway, I don't know. It's a neat game. That's all I'm saying. It's probably right up your alley, Troy, if you're ever interested. It's on Steam now. It'll probably go on sale. It's $9.99 now. If you wait, it'll probably go on sale for $5. You know.
No, that does sound great.
It is one of the great PC adventure games, and it's rather addicting. I did notice a couple glitches in it. I'm hoping those get ironed out. For instance, for some reason I can't get through this cage, even though I was able to shoot it at one point. I don't know why I can't do it on my another playthrough, but you know, we'll see. We'll see if for all I know, that was a glitch in the original title from back in the day. You know? It's neat. Like you find out there's a group of people helping out replicants. It's like kind of almost like a underground railroad sort of thing. Like they're kind of militant. They're wanting to free the replicants. That's another side thing in the game. You know,
that does sound entirely plausible, right? I mean, that's the logical extrapolation of the story, right? Yeah,
it feels like it takes place in the Blade Runner world, and the character you're playing as is interesting because he's not a Deckard. I don't want to say he's a rookie Blade Runner, but obviously you can tell he's not as experienced as Deckard, and he's trying to move up in the department and stuff. And
and that also makes it easier for someone who's coming into a game and playing it with no experience, you know. So, but I think this whole EA having lost the source code and everything and all the work they had to put into it, why did they bother? Why didn't they just make a whole new version of the game? Maybe make 7 versions of the game that are all different. Just saying. Maybe one with a voiceover and one without, and one with more gore than the other.
Well, this game does have voiceovers. It's just the voiceover the Blade Runner you're playing as. And he actually explained like the sushi they were eating at the plate. That's not the sushi of the old days, and he explains how it's some composite thing that sounds like not as good. And like,
again, which is exactly in keeping with the lore of the world. Yeah.
And like he has his own boss named Guza, who's played by the guy that voices him is an actor who's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. The bigger guy in Curb Your Enthusiasm. He does the voice of the actor in that. It just has a good voice cast all around because they got as much of the movie cast back, and then they had, except for Harrison Ford, and then they have other well-known TV actors in it. It's just a well-made old PC title, and I love looking at the photos in the Esper machine and trying to zoom in and and it's they really got the feel of the movie down. A lot of love was put into that game, and I think they realized we have the Blade Runner license, we have to do it justice. So check it out, Deleted Scenes. It's available on all major consoles and PC. So
imagine
give it a
having a franchise that you take responsibility for and realize what an important thing it is, and try
like realizing when you get the rights to Blade Runner, you do a good job because this is Blade Runner and you should be thankful, instead of
I know, right?
Oh, I don't even want to say anything about Star Wars right now. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. We don't even have to bother.
I'm becoming worried that Thor is going to become low-hanging fruit soon enough. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks, right?
Love and Thunder thighs.
I don't know. Russell Crowe as Zeus.
Oh gosh.
I don't like it when they mix Greek and Norse gods together. Like they were hanging out together. I find that ridiculous. They're completely different. I mean, isn't Thor kind of the god of thunder in Norse mythology? So why would he be running into the god of thunder from Greek mythology? How does that coexist? Does that make any sense to you? I don't know.
Nothing about the Marvel universe has made sense since Endgame.
Oh, yeah. How's Ms. Marvel doing?
No idea. Don't care.
Okay. All right. Blade Runner star Rutger Hauer. Yeah, we'd actually check out. I put a link in the chat. I'll try to remember to put one in the description. We were on Netter's Network last night. We did a rewatch of Blade Runner. If you haven't listened to it, you can hear Big Al, Troy, and Annette, myself, and Deleted Scene shows up later on it too. You get to hear us, the original theatrical release of Blade Runner. We're talking about it, and it's pretty neat. It's a good, it's a fun rewatch. I love Blade Runner. I go on for hours, but Blade Runner star Rutger Hauer took exception in his character Roy Batty being labeled as a villain. So, I mean, this is not news, but it's an interesting retrospective article. Blade Runner and Rutger Hauer did not see Blade Runner star Rutger Hauer did not see his character as a villain, and the actor took exception to the notion that while doing press for the film's initial release, the iconic Ridley Scott sci-fi movie set in 2019 Los Angeles and starring Harrison Ford as a former police officer tasked with hunting down synthetic humans turns 40 on Saturday. In an interview for the film's 1982 release, the Netherlands-born Hauer, while being flattered by a journalist about his good looks, was asked why he would want to play a villain in the film when he was handsome enough to be the hero. A polite Hauer responded that he did not see his character, Roy Batty, in the same light. "I don't think this is a villain," he began. "What is wrong with a man? From the point of view where they start chasing him, he just wants to live a little longer. He hasn't done so much harm. You don't see him do any harm. And then they start chasing him down. He has to fight once in a while because that's survival." In Blade Runner, Hauer's Roy Batty is a bioengineered humanoid who, along with fellow Nexus 6 replicants Leon Kowalski, Zora Salome, and Pris, is being pursued by Blade Runner Rick Deckard. The former LAPD officer is tasked with dispatching or retiring the replicants. I don't think of it in those terms," Hauer said in the same interview about hero and villain roles. "A good part is a good part. It doesn't matter what it is. It's more or less the American market that uses me, let's say, in cold-blooded villain roles. Largely misunderstood by the studio when it was made and then by audiences when it was initially released, Blade Runner underperformed at the box office and received mixed reviews from critics. However, it went on to become a sci-fi motion picture staple. The film was also notable for having 7 different versions, a result of cuts and alterations demanded by the studios when it was released and restored over time for fans. A sequel, Blade Runner 2049, directed by Denis Villeneuve, was released in October 2017. Howard died in 2019 at the age of 75. Um, it's interesting. We were discussing this movie last night. You didn't see Roy as a villain, did you?
I saw him not in villain as you think. Villain in terms of the narrative, from a writing standpoint. But no, I agree with what Rutger Hauer had said, that in our understanding of a villain, he's not. It's really hard to ascribe some sort of evil motive to someone who's just really trying to survive.
Yeah, and
I brought this up a little bit on Netter's rewatch last night, that I'm surprised I haven't heard more people pointing out the obvious allegory to slavery here.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get so focused on, is this a replicant? Is this not a replicant? What does it mean to be human? Blah, 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 blah. And it comes down to the replicant is literally just another reason to dehumanize, because you need a slave labor force. And it was true, in the pre-Civil War United States.
Yep.
It's been true ever since with migrant workers. Whether you choose to believe it or not, you are supporting a new kind of slavery whenever you are perfectly fine with, illegal immigration and, that kind of thing.
They're being exploited.
Yeah, it's the exploitation of people, and that are not being treated equally. And nothing changes. There is nothing new under the sun. So you go into the future and you have you create artificial intelligence, and you claim that it's not slave labor, but at some point that's exactly what it becomes.
It's interesting. I just picked up something. You say you pick up something new every time you watch Blade Runner. I realized that Roy led his little rebellion to get to Earth because remember the thing with his hands? He realized his time was coming.
Yeah.
And this was a last-ditch effort to either figure out a way out or just to at least bring some maybe justice to the people who created this whole situation. I don't know.
And you could even argue more than that. It's not just, Pris and the others that were with him. It's also, it's kind of a movement, right? You could see him as a George Washington. He's not just doing this for himself. He's doing it for all the generations of replicants that would come after him.
Yeah, and if you look at Deckard, is he really the hero? I mean, he's shooting that woman in the street. And they even make a point in the documentary. It's like, it makes you think, just because you're told to and society says you have to do it, don't just shoot a woman in the back in the street and watch her die. It makes you think about that. I think the movie does make you think that's a very unglorified death she has.
That's exactly it. If you see it as, what if you've completely dehumanized her? She's not human. She's a machine, right? It's no different than if your tractor pops into gear and you fire into the engine block to try to get it to seize up and stop moving, right?
Yeah.
That's how they're looking at these replicants. But he's starting to look and go, I'm not entirely sure that's true, Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not really a good versus evil story if you think about it. I don't know, or maybe it is. It's just not how we think of it. It's like who's the villain, who's the hero in that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing is that. Well, let me think real quick. I'm just kind of quickly mentally going through all of the different characters. I think you have nobody who has truly evil motivation. Most of them lean towards good motivation. They, in their minds, think that what they're doing is right. I'd have to spend more time thinking about this, but gut instinct, I'd even say that about Tyrell. I think even Tyrell thinks he's doing good.
Yes. Tyrell, he's not you're going to be doing a rewatch of 2049 in a couple weeks. He's not Wallace. Wallace, I think, is more malevolent in the follow-up. But
is that the character played by Jared Leto?
Jared Leto, yes. Yes. Well,
I will. Pretty good casting there.
I'm going to try to join you for that. I'll see. I can't promise, but I do want to because I have a lot to say about that movie as well. And that's Wallace.
And deleted scenes. We need to know if you're coming back in 2 weeks for that rewatch too.
Because as much as I love the original Blade Runner, I really spent a lot of time thinking about 2049. Look at me rambling about Blade Runner. I'm telling you, the fact this movie released how many years ago? It's what, 40th anniversary now? Or
yes, last night was the 40th anniversary.
It's still making you think.
It is. And that's one of the things we talked about last night too. A movie that keeps you having these conversations, debating in a good-natured way, and never being 100% certain that you know what's what. That's good writing.
I miss like the really big science fiction movie you'd get a decade. Like in the 50s, it was Forbidden Planet. 60s, 2001: Space Odyssey. 70s had a bunch actually. The Planet of the Apes. It had Soylent Green. It had Logan's Run. There were a lot of good science fiction movies in the 70s, and then get to the 80s, you got Blade Runner, and 90s. I don't know. I guess you had Gattaca. That was a big one, right? Remember Gattaca?
I liked the Gattaca. Yeah.
Yes,
and that
was
one,
a good one.
That one I still think about as we go through some modern situations, let's say.
All right, but I could go on about Blade Runner. Have you seen the shorts that precede Blade Runner 2049?
I'm sorry, say again.
The short movies that predate that you watched that came out in anticipation of Blade Runner 2049. They might be on your DVD, but I can send you YouTube links if you'd like to watch them. Yourself.
Is that the what was it called?
There was an anime one, and then there was a couple of live action ones to take place. It was called Blackout 2021 or something. It was like the first short takes place a couple years after the original Blade Runner, I think.
Let me just real quick check here. Blade Runner. Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you might have been referring. No, I have not. I had.
I'll send you the links.
Something called Blade Runner Black Lotus. I was going to start looking into.
Oh, that was a series. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But I'll know these were shorts that were made in anticipation of the movie. They give you a little bit of the background to what you saw in the movie. I don't think they're necessary to enjoy 2049, but it's kind of neat.
Is it in that same vein as like Animatrix?
It was, but they didn't go all out. I kind of think that was a missed opportunity. I would have loved them to have done an Animatrix movie for the Blade Runner, because Blade Runner hugely popular in Japan. And they did do an anime. They did get the guy that made Cowboy Bebop. He did one of the animated. He did the animated short for it. Then they have a couple live action ones done by, I guess, other directors. I don't think they were Japanese. They were made over here in the United States, and they weren't bad. But I kind of wish they had done a big collection of just animated Blade Runner shorts that filled in the gap between the two movies, like they did with the Animatrix. But the ones we got were pretty good. I'll send them to you. You can take a look at them. They're worth checking out before you see the sequel. Okay, moving on to classic 80s movies getting a revival. Crickets? Anybody excited?
I am just
confused.
Anticipation. Confused.
This will be the 8th wonder of the world, and you need to have some faith.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay.
Back to the Future musical confirms Broadway 2023 opening.
Okay.
Color me curious, I'll say that. I assume he would be singing the Huey Lewis song in the movie. That would be a musical number, right?
That was one of the first things I thought. I was like, okay, they have to have licensed the Huey Lewis music because it is so much a part of that movie,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other songs that, they got to have Earth Angel in there. There's a lot of other songs that Johnny Be Good. Those songs have got to be licensed for this.
Anyway, I'll read this quick article. The West End hit musical Back to the Future will, as widely expected, get a Broadway Staging in 2023, producers confirmed in a tweet today. Synchronizer watches The Future's coming to Broadway in 2023. The tweet, which includes a brief teaser clip, says production details, including casting and dates, were not announced. The musical, based on the 1985 hit film that starred Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, features music and lyrics by Alan Silvestri and Glenn Ballard, and a book by Bob Gale, adapted from the original screenplay by Robert Zemeckis and Gale. The West End production, which opened in 2021, stars Ollie Dobson in the Fox role of Marty McFly, and Roger Bart as Emmett Doc Brown, played in the film by Lloyd. Back to the Future was named Best New Musical at the 2022 Olivier Awards. I'm kind of curious. So it already has been put on as a production, but now it's coming to Broadway, right?
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. Do you think it's any good? Crickets?
I don't know anything about it. The idea of, I guess I have the same opinion of taking a movie and turning it into a musical that I remember Alan Moore having about his comics being turned into movies. It was created as one medium. That doesn't necessarily mean it translates well to, other mediums,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about the Back to the Future Saturday morning cartoons, to be honest with you.
I never watched those. I think I tried as a kid, but I was like, yeah. I mean, maybe it's all right. I wonder if they included a couple of those on the DVDs releases that they did. I don't know, but I just,
you know what? Deleted Scenes just dropped the link for the those Blade Runner 2049 prequel films that you were mentioning.
Yeah,
and the first one, and I guess they're named by date.
Yes.
So the first one is 2022.
And then later on, because it explains a bit of the history. I don't think they're necessary to enjoy 2049, but it's kind of neat to see the big blackout event that they reference in 2049. You actually get to see it in the short.
Yeah, I just put it for to watch later. Yeah.
There were cartoons of Back to the Future. Yes, there was. There was also cartoons of Bill and Ted. It's funny because the Bill and Ted cartoon, the first season, I think had actually Keanu Reeves and who was the other actor that played in that? Sorry, I forgot. But
I
did
know
the voices, and then they got replacement voice actors later on because of some deal they had or something. It's like, what? You lost the original actors from the movies. You had the movie actors do the voices in the cartoon. What are you doing?
Yeah, Steven, actually, the Back to the Future cartoon, if I remember correctly, it was set after
3, right?
After 3, so you're following Doc Brown, his kids, and his wife in the, time traveling, train.
Talk about a movie trilogy that I think, what's the expression? Hit the landing or made the landing properly.
Stuck the landing.
Stuck the landing. Thank you. It stuck the landing because I know some people, they pick on 3. I don't know what their problem with 3 is. I think 3 works. I like the fact that it's a Western. He's stuck in the Old West, and it had a great resolve. It kind of gave Marty McFly's character an arc about the whole chicken thing and other things.
It absolutely does. Yeah. That was a great example of really maintaining the character development all the way throughout.
And Doc Brown develops too. Yeah.
It also kind of establishes the development of the families and the personalities of the families going back.
Yeah.
The history of the town. It's a fictional town and all of that too. So to be able to manage that all so well with time travel, and how I feel about time travel, I think they've done a great job with those 3 movies. In fact, we'll probably be talking in another couple of weeks. Netter and I have started watching the second season of Gravity Falls, and there's more time travel. And I look at it and I go, again, these guys have done the time when it's a kids cartoon from the Disney Plus, or not Disney Plus, Disney, whatever the Disney Channel was back in the day. It has no business being as good as it is. but these guys wrote that time travel really
Sometimes the best writing are on the kids' cartoons. That's what I kept thinking on Batman the Animated Series. Put these guys in charge of the movies.
I know, right?
What are you doing? It's like
David Pensick says, "I'm sure Mayor Goldie Wilson would approve." I agree with you. I think.
Oh, Mayor Goldie Wilson, and then I like when he goes to the future and it's his descendant who's a car salesman, and it's funny. It's just,
yeah.
Disney rejects us. Okay, this is an older article.
Yes, but it's an important setup.
Disney rejects Sylvester Stallone's new show for not being female focused. Yeah.
Did we talk about this when it first came out?
No, because this was because I wasn't. No, we didn't start the stream in 2019. This was August 6th, 2019. So here's
I feel like we've been doing this forever, so that's why
I got very upset when I heard this news. Because I'm like, "What are you doing?" Okay, so this is from. What is this from? We got this covered. Disney is clearly very serious about their commitment to diversity on screen. Recently, their own ABC channel was the only one of the 4 major networks to reject the opportunity to hear a pitch about an upcoming action drama series from Dolph Lundgren and Sylvester Stallone. Executives reportedly passed on the show because it's not female focused. Apparently, both ABC and its parent company are renewing their focus on stories centered around women. Fans have already heard this push from Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, as well as seen it with some of their recent casting and character choices. It's also evident in the Star Wars franchise over the past few years, as Daisy Ridley has been at the forefront of the sequel trilogy. While Stallone's show might sound exciting, ABC has decided to pass in favor of more female-focused material. Now, this was from a couple years ago, and I believe... Now, according to this article, they wouldn't even hear the pitch. It's not like they actually said, Stallone, we don't want to hear what you have to say, or the writers, we don't want to hear it. I know it was pitched to CBS, who I guess passed on it, but at least the other networks did at least hear them out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of flabbergasted. Dolph Lundgren and Sylvester Stallone. It'd be funny seeing them as a team because they were adversaries in that Rocky movie. Remember? In the Creed 2. Seems obvious that you would do this. This might have been a great little series, but we didn't get it. We got a lot of other new series that I don't even want to talk about network television right now. The state of it, it's not good. But Duck Fisney, thank you.
Duck Fisney, I like that. I really do.
I don't really watch ABC. ABC at a time was another one of these channels that had must-see TV. Remember Lost? Lost was a huge show.
I remember that started out really good.
Yeah, I mean it had great characters and it had great diverse characters on that show that didn't feel shoehorned in. You had people from all around the world. But whatever.
Yeah, but no, we didn't have diversity until like 2020, right?
I know. Yes, of course. But Lost was a huge show for Disney. That almost had as big a following as Twin Peaks at the time, and nobody understood why Disney wasn't doing anything with Lost at the parks or even at downtown Disney. They should have done like a Lost event or a Lost exhibit. They own this huge television show, but what do I know? They didn't do anything with it. Anyways, so here we have new announcement. Sylvester Stallone has a new series coming out called Tulsa King. I did send you the trailer, Troy. Did you watch it?
I did.
Looks interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So from the trailer, the premise I can gather is that Sylvester Stallone, he worked for the a certain organization, maybe called the mafia, and he got sent to jail, but he didn't rat. He didn't, he says, I was loyal. I think he says something like, I was loyal to the family. Now I'll find out if the family was loyal to me. Doesn't he say something like that?
Yeah.
In the trailer.
Yeah, basically, it's he was married to.
That's right. That's
mob.
what he says. Married
now,
to the mob. Yeah.
After keeping his mouth shut, he's going to find out if the mob is married to him.
And they say, welcome back. We're going to give you a job. You're going to set up operations for us. And he's like, where? Tulsa.
He's like, is this a joke?
Tulsa, Oklahoma. And like, there's a scene where he's sitting at a like a cafe table, and the guy sitting says, are you new in town? He says, is it that obvious?
Yeah. Is it that obvious?
I want to watch this show so badly. It's I think it's some of the Sopranos people are behind it. It'd
Yeah.
be, I don't know if it's gonna be like a lighter touch mob series, like something more along the lines of what he did with Oscar, maybe. I don't know, but
Maybe not quite that far, but if it follows the Sopranos model, it might be really, really good. Because let's face it, the Sopranos had a good deal of comedy in it,
oh, it's a funny
even though
series.
it was incredibly serious, you know.
If you want to have a good time and you're looking to brighten your mood, type in any Sopranos clip on YouTube, watch the clip, read the YouTube comments underneath it. There was the one segment where I think it was Richie Aprile is going to Beansy, the guy running the pizza shops, who I guess used to work for him back in their, I guess maybe they're running drugs or other things, and he became a legitimate businessman, and he's going to Beansy, looking for kickbacks now that he's out of jail, and Beansy's like, I won't lay down. And like he tells the kid in the restaurant, get him a veal parmesan sandwich. And he's like, veal parmesan sandwich, F you. And then he smashes a coffee pot across his face and starts beating the crap out of Beansy, right?
Yeah.
Underneath the comments, some guy wrote, Beansy should have sweetened the deal with soft drink of choice. Do you understand? They're just some nasty, mean-spirited comments, but they work so well with these. I guess you have to just check it out yourself.
I just happened to catch out of the corner of my eye somebody shared, and this is one of those things. It's just serendipity. We just happen to be talking about Sylvester Stallone, and then somebody put up an old '80s picture of Sylvester Stallone with his foot up on the bumper of I think that's a Lamborghini. Says, who is this? Wrong answers only. So I responded, I think his name is Oscar. I heard he moved to Tulsa recently. Either way, be careful or his mother will shoot.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That's a good one. Okay. He never had the making of a varsity athlete. Oh, that comment shows up underneath the videos too. That was what Uncle Junior said to Tony. Oh. Anyway, let's get back to Tulsa though. So, whatever you do, don't ask Sylvester Stallone, Mr. Stallone, to journalists everywhere to read off of the teleprompter. Stallone stole the show at a Paramount Plus United Kingdom launch event on Monday, where the star of the mob drama Tulsa King, faced with a teleprompter like his fellow actors in attendance, went dramatically off. What is it? Off piste? Pissed? I think they meant off script. I think there's a spelling error. Okay. Went dramatically off script and opted to speak from the heart for 10 minutes, delightfully throwing a wrench in an otherwise perfectly curated showcase. I'm not going to read that. I'm not, boom Stallone to cheers from the audience of around 200. I'm going to read from the heart. Yeah. In a rambling speech, Stallone touched on his love of franchises. When I first started a franchise, they said, oh, very careerist. You're going to make the same movie 3-4 times. It's like, yeah, though through to riding horses, his own early career, and ultimately putting together this new group of misfits. I'd like to say I did it all my own, joked Stallone before thanking Paramount boss Bob Bakish, Chris McCarthy, president of Paramount Media Networks, as well as Tom Ryan, president and CEO of streaming. Stallone was the final act in an hour-long presentation that dazzled the audience at Outer Met, a new media space on Charing Cross Road in central London, whose massive screens for walls were put to good use by Paramount. The studio hosted media and select producers and partners at a lavish party for the service, which formally launches in the United Kingdom on Wednesday with an 8,000-hour content offering spanning movies, TV shows, and new originals and library fare. Hosted by Graham Norton, who presents drag singing competition Queen of the Universe for Paramount Plus, a cavalcade of celebrities took to the stage, introducing one another and singing the praises of their shows and the platform. After a full day of press beginning at 9 a.m., most were, perhaps understandably, reading off the teleprompter, but that didn't stop outliers like Stallone, who relish in a bit of improv. What do you think? Stallone's still a class act?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those celebrities that I don't really know what his politics are, and it's probably better that way.
I I doubt he's far left. I don't know what his politics are, but I just get that feeling. Usually when they're not too vocal, it means they either are not that involved in politics or they're maybe leaning another direction. You know what I mean? But
or they're just savvy enough to keep it to themselves.
But no, I like Stallone, and I am looking forward to this new series. It's funny, I've been ragging on Paramount Plus for the last few months, but this may be worth a watch. And I think what matters most, excuse me, as far as what we do with content, maybe it's not so much about who you subscribe to, but what you're watching on these services versus what you're not watching, right?
Yeah.
You think so?
I know that they keep track of that information, so you are getting a message across one way or the other.
And finally, there's a show on this service that I actually want to watch. So hooray, hooray, hooray. Yeah. I subscribed it for my mom. She's big on the NCISs, so
I can understand that.
Okay.
You know, I like NCIS.
I watch Evil too, but that had a off season last year. If they don't bring it back, I like the actors on it, but I don't know. They gotta figure out what they're doing with that show. But anyway, any Stallone fans in the chat?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, you said in the chat.
I don't know. Okay, and now we're going to wrap it up with our final article, which kind of we're going to circle back to the beginning.
I don't ever want to hear "circle back" ever again. To be honest,
sorry.
I know that's a phrase that just needs to die now.
Okay, is it still worth buying movies on 4K Blu-ray? Okay, I just thought this was a neat little article because this guy is affirming what Troy always says about buying physical media, correct? Yeah. Owning physical media.
Own physical media, yeah.
And it's interesting, and it kind of this is one of my hobbies. Kind of like how Birdman buys a lot of different soundtracks, I tend to buy Blu-rays. And really what Blu-ray is now is it's great for you looking for these odd movies that get released every so often. So with streaming reigning supreme, has the time finally come to eject the Blu-ray disc from our lives? Is there a good reason to buy one of the best 4K Blu-ray players out there these days? There's no doubt that the vast majority of movie purchases now come from digital download and keep sales. Between that and the ubiquity of streaming services, you might be forgiven for thinking that physical media is, if not yet obsolete, then at least easing into retirement. But this couldn't be further from the truth. When it comes to film ownership, people still love physical discs for a bunch of reasons. 4K and regular Blu-rays and even old school DVDs still sell in big numbers and are crucial to the home entertainment success of movies. When it comes to convenience and value, streaming services can't be beaten. A fixed fee coupled with a constant flow of content to watch is irresistible. The catch is that content on many streaming services is largely transitory. Unless it's an original production, the rights to the show will lapse, and titles come and go from these services. If you've been planning on catching up with Lady Bird or The Exorcist at the weekend, you might have just missed your chance. If there's a film you want to see, a disc guarantees your ability to watch this. I would think it would be obvious, but I wonder too in this all digital era, people realize, if you want to hear me ranting on Birdman's stream, like when we did Star Trek First Contact, I was fuming about the fact that it was on Paramount Plus. Like, I kid you not, like 2 weeks earlier, it was on there.
Yep.
And I go and I had to rent it, and I was not happy about it because I don't actually own Star Trek First Contact.
There you go. That's why you need to own physical media.
Except it's a TNG movie. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? It's probably the best of the TNG movies, but
I think you're right. I would agree with you on that.
I don't like the idea of the Borg Queen, but nitpicking, I suppose.
I did appreciate the concept of a locutus, of a
yes,
central
that's different.
mind.
But he's basically a hive mind speaking on behalf of the whole group.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's apparently exactly what the Borg Queen was.
Okay.
But the idea of needing both a king and a queen and, separate one for different sectors.
And seducing
make a lot of sense.
And seducing Data.
Yeah.
But there were other things I liked that we like. Zephyrin Cochran, I thought was a great character.
I thought that was some great lore building there and stuff.
That was actually, I thought that was good, and I like the fact that they're talking to him about, oh, you're in the history books and all this other stuff. And the one guy made this one quote about what it was to be a man. It says, "What idiot said that? It was you in 2048, or in 22." He's like, it was. That was actually a good little time travel movie in a way, actually, if you think about it.
Oh yeah,
Star Trek First Contact. Yeah, so maybe I need to stop being so harsh on it. But and then there's the allure of special editions and restorations. Sure, the bulk of your viewing may be streams or downloads, but a limited edition disc released in a deluxe packaging or a fancy steelbook still holds enormous appeal. And if you're serious about movies, the work of specialist archival labels like Indicator and 88 Films holds enormous appeal. These labels invest a huge amount of time and money in locating obscure prints of films or obscure prints or films and lavishing them with 4K restorations, plus audio supplemental interviews and commentaries. You'll only find these features on these discs, and in some cases, it might be the only way you can watch the 4K HDR version of these movies. That's true of cult classic Tremors, for example. The cost of restoring these films means that the premium price of 4K Blu-rays is really the only way they can pay for themselves. So, if we want to avoid great older films from being lost in obscurity, 4K Blu-rays remain vital. If your jam is obscure Italian giallo thrillers, that is actually my jam. Hong Kong martial arts films or grindhouse horrors, discs will scratch your collector's itch far better than the main streaming services. Yeah, I want to make a point that, often these, let's be honest here, some of these older movies, they're not in the best shape. Like something that was shot in the 70s, maybe it looked glorious when it was first put on screens back then, but some of those prints are not in great shape. But I know that when Synapse was re-releasing Suspiria on Blu-ray, they made a point. We're being very careful with the restoration. They got the original cinematographer who shot the movie to oversee the restoration of it. And then they released it on Blu-ray, and it looked brilliant. And eventually they brought it out on 4K Blu-ray as well. And I think that their transfer was so great. They're an American company. I think the European distributor said, "Hey, could we borrow your print of that, your restoration of it, to release over here in Europe?" And they of course, they lent it out, obviously, so the European market would get it as well. But it's very neat that these companies, they have to pay for these restorations somehow. That's what the disc is for. You buy the physical disc, you pay for the restoration, and you get extra features like audio commentaries and making of documentaries and essays and things like that. So it's worth the money to pick these up if you're a collector, especially if it's one of your favorite movies. And if you like some of these more obscure movies, like the Kung Fu movies and the grindhouse horrors and whatnot.
Yeah.
The question of disc quality versus streaming is currently pretty clear cut, but the future is less certain. Blu-ray, be it 4K or HD, offers a consistent experience. You'll generally be seeing the best movie can look every time every time you hit play, and your experience won't be tempered by the unpredictable network speeds or adaptive streaming. Most streaming services recommend 15 Mbps for a decent 4K picture, so your connection needs to be consistently be above that. However, data pours from a disk at a much higher rate than any streaming service can offer, up to 128 Mbps, so nearly 10 times higher potentially. Remember, we had, I think, was it Zootopia who was mentioning he was watching the Indiana Jones Blu-rays versus the versions on streaming, and so his Blu-rays look much nicer.
Yeah.
So
and it's almost certainly because of baud rates. But I'll tell you, David Pensack mentions, another what do you call it, platform war or whatever. We were talking about VHS to DVD at the top of the show, and you made an excellent point that DVD was a way of keeping that movie, and it not being hurt by the number of times you watched it. Whereas the more you watched the VHS, the more it wore out until it eventually, usually like in one particular spot. I'm thinking Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but anyway,
that got a very nice DVD release from Criterion last year.
There you go. So, but I think when you start going Blu-ray, DVD, HD, what are we talking about here? We're talking about higher and higher and higher resolutions.
Yes.
And honestly, there comes a point where you just got to go, does it really make that big a difference? Does it matter? If I have it on DVD, do I need to see, every blackhead on his nose?
Here is what I'm going to say to this point you're making. I still have a very large regular DVD collection. I still have an old plasma HD television. I have not upgraded yet. I'm kind of I've always had the thing where I don't get rid of a TV until it's dying on me. I don't necessarily want to upgrade to the newest thing because TVs they're not necessarily cheap devices. Plus, I don't like waste. If you own a piece of technology and it works, I like to hold on to it. That's just my own thing. So my TV can only go up to 1080p, and that is 2K. So that's Blu-ray. So my TV can take advantage of Blu-ray. It can also upscale regular DVDs either with my Blu-ray player or if I have an upscaling DVD player, it can usually bump those up. Are they going to look as good as a Blu-ray? No, but they'll look better than they would otherwise. And it's funny, some DVDs look better than others. Like I have some DVDs, like my old Dawn of the Dead DVD from Anchor Bay, because I didn't get the Blu-ray for that, and of course that went out of print. But I have that on DVD. When I play it on my TV, it looks fine. It doesn't look. Maybe the Blu-ray would look better, but I still think the picture I'm seeing is pretty good, even with the old DVD, because they're able to upscale it. Mm-hmm. I know that when you get a 4K television, though, this is where you run into trouble because I think upscaling an old standard definition DVD to 4K is not going to be a pretty sight. I've never tried it myself because I don't own a 4K television. And I think Blu-ray is what then gets upscaled to 4K, and then you can buy a 4K Blu-ray. So I think having all these formats is good. I think most of the time, a lot of things do now. And one thing I will say that I do like about Blu-ray and even 4K, let's say you missed out on buying a DVD and like a special movie and it became rare and they didn't, and it went off the market. Because of a new format, now there's a chance for that movie to get re-released. I was big on collecting Hammer movies, and I didn't realize that Anchor Bay had put out a bunch of Hammer DVDs back in the day, but I didn't buy them, so they were all out of print.
Yeah,
terribly expensive on eBay. But luckily, they then get re-released on Blu-ray, so I can buy the Blu-ray edition.
That was exactly what got me starting to buy a lot of my Blu-rays because I couldn't get a hold of the DVDs for exactly that reason. They'd gone out of print, and then Netter would say, well, I found it for, this much as a Blu-ray. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Get the Blu-ray. I've got it. And then, now that I'm able to watch Blu-rays, I'm like, okay, yeah, that works. That works.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any interest in getting a 4K television. That choice may be taken away from me one day if they don't make anything lower than 4K, because I know in Japan, they even have 8K prototype models. I think the 4K thing is you have to have very good vision to see in 4K, from what I heard from a YouTube video I watched. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with 1080p, 2K. And I'll say this, I don't mind them releasing 4K restorations because you still get a better restoration on Blu-ray and DVD when they do that. So even the DVD and Blu-ray will look better than it would have otherwise. So I'm fine with the other formats existing. And it's funny, sometimes now what they do is, they had Blu-ray DVD combo packs. Now they have 4K Blu-ray and regular Blu-ray combo packs. So
David brings up another great point. We have yet to get a Blu-ray 4K of the theatrical cut of Amadeus. This is another reason, because I was ranting. Well, I did a little bit tonight, but definitely a lot last night about the different versions of Blade Runner. It's another reason to own physical media, right? Whatever format, because if you have it and they decide to put out another version later and they change something, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. If you have the, if you have a DVD that has the original theatrical cut of Amadeus on it, you hold on to it. Maybe you hope and pray that someday they put out a Blu-ray version of it, but until then, at least you can still watch that theatrical cut on your DVD.
Sometimes you can like the theatrical cut better. You know what movie that I'm that way with? Sling Blade. Because there's a director's cut of it, and then there's the theatrical cut. And I remember my original DVD of it. It wasn't anamorphic widescreen. They're releasing the director's cut. I bought the director's cut. I'm not saying it's terrible or anything, but I actually do prefer the theatrical cut because I think there was something revealed in the director's cut that I would have rather was left unknown. It had to do with the Doyle's relationship with the sheriff.
Yeah. I kind of made my point last night when I was talking about the whole death of the author thing. Once it's released, That's your version. That's it. You're done. Stay the fuck away from it. You finished.
Here's my argument. I don't care if a director wants to put out another cut. Just make sure the original is available. Like with that Blade Runner set, they did include all the versions. That's all I ask.
True.
Right.
That is, you make an excellent point there. As long as it's still available, we've never gotten a theatrical release of Star Wars on DVD or anything. So that's why I said I got the laser disc, and I was able to make my own DVD
your own copy of it.
And there's a lot of fan edits out there of things like that because they're not making. That's why we ended up getting and this is where I have to go the opposite way, where we needed a director's cut, and because the original was not, all the fans even knew it wasn't right, and that was Superman 1 and 2. We wanted a Donner cut, and fans were making their own fan edits and making them available. And Warner Brothers said, okay, we need to actually get this thing done.
We got the special edition of Superman 79, which is now considered like the definitive edition.
Yep.
And actually, they even released, apparently they've released a TV edit of it as well.
Yep. Which is where some of the footage for the Donner cut came from.
Right.
That
he put into Superman 2, the Donner cut. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's neat when companies do this. I've noticed that the bigger studios tend to do less, like the aforementioned Amadeus theatrical version. Maybe some people prefer the theatrical cut. I understand that. So they should include both versions. I know with Sling Blade, it's funny. With Sling Blade, I bought the Voodoo version, the digital version, the streaming version of the theatrical cut of Sling Blade, because if this is the only way I can get it, I'll just get the streaming version.
So I think Matt Inouye makes another great point. He says the question is, what if they stop making things to play the discs on? So, for example, you have a whole bunch of DVDs and you can't get a DVD player anymore. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. First, own a good DVD player, right? Mm-hmm. Take good care of it.
Yeah.
And know somebody that can fix it if you can't fix it yourself. There's a YouTuber that I follow who fights in court legally for a legal concept that he calls right to fix. There's a lot of technology out there right now that has proprietary software, proprietary parts in it that make it impossible for you to go in and fix your own thing. And he makes this exact point. If you stop making that thing, we need to have the right to be able to fix it ourselves in perpetuity.
I'm not so much worried about this, knock on wood, obviously.
Yeah. But you say that until it becomes a problem.
But I'm not as worried about this because you can still get a DVD player today. You can buy vinyl record players now, even though vinyl apparently fell out of fashion. Now it's... Of course, I will say the CD players, getting a decent CD player, a little harder to come by these days. So...
Well, and I was going to say, when it comes to a vinyl record player, I mean, it's only because there was a resurgence, a retro interest in it that they have come out, but also because it's a very simple technology. Literally anybody can go into, open up the back of your turntable or whatever and replace a belt. And even jury rig a belt if you can't get a replacement belt for it. It's not really that difficult. It's pretty straightforward. It starts getting a lot more difficult when you start getting into the electronics of a DVD, and heaven help you with Blu-rays, because there are definitely proprietary softwares involved there.
Yeah, one of the issues I have with Blu-rays, and this is the one thing where this is why I haven't got rid of all my DVDs and whatnot, because unfortunately with Blu-ray, there is this thing where players get updated to play future versions of Blu-ray. Now, in fact, it was kind of funny because a while back I bought like an old first generation Blu-ray player, and I'm like, how do I update this thing? This thing can't connect to the internet. Apparently, you could burn you could burn a CD-ROM and burn it with the update information and put it into the Blu-ray player, and it would update it that way. It was just very complicated, but you could do it. I think I wanted a Blu-ray player with component out. That's why I bought one. Of course, even that thing eventually crapped out on me.
My problem was I couldn't update my software on my computer, so I had to get a new license for a new Blu-ray software, and that's what solved the problem. But I'm telling you, it's gotten to the point where I think that I have to go backwards. I have to take my Blu-rays and downgrade them to DVDs, maybe strip off all those DVD extras and stuff, so that I know that I have them in perpetuity for exactly that reason. So I guess when I say own physical media, I'm also low key kind of saying be self-sufficient. Think about exactly what Matt Anui is asking, and think of ways that going forward in perpetuity, you'll be able to continue to enjoy them in the privacy of your own home.
I will say this: not all of the DVDs I own, but quite a few of them do also come with DVDs. So they have the Blu-ray DVD combo pack. So
yeah, that is how that's another way that I ended up getting a lot of DVDs.
In fact, I always gave the big studios, I mean, I don't give them credit for a lot these days, but I always said when they include a digital copy, a Blu-ray, and a DVD, they're kind of covering all your bases.
And Matt Anui, don't
that's
stop.
Good. Yeah.
The fact that I'm reading your comment and commenting on your comment just says that you've contributed in a way that
you're fine.
That helps the conversation here. That is
feel free to talk.
For crying out loud, this is what we depend on you guys for in the chat. It's
okay if you're enraptured by my voice, not so much Troy's. I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. No, I'm messing with you. No,
thank you, David. Good point, Troy Pacelli. He said, thank you. Someone wants to hear what I have to say.
No, I made a point that actually you got a nice little shout out recently, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you were labeled as an up and coming YouTuber.
And what are you doing in my bushes? But but no, I was pretty fired up about that. And as soon as I saw this video, and I had no idea this was coming, I was like a little blown away when somebody what do you call it, tagged me in a Twitter tweet or whatever you call it. Excellent. With my name, and I looked, and it was a video with my name attached to it. I'm like, what the heck is this? And it turned out that in fact, real quick, let me just pull it up. I think I'll drop the link.
Drop the link. Okay. I'm gonna the rapture aged boomers dulcet tones, especially when my nose is stuffed up. Yes.
Right. Exactly. Is it? Oh, I dropped it Friday night last. Yeah. Here it is. Open the link.
Yeah, check out the link when you get a chance.
So Ryan Roger Athay, another YouTuber, did a video about me that he basically it's his segment he calls Rising Stars. I guess that's short for like Rising Stars of YouTube or whatever. And he just basically said that he follows my my YouTube channel, and he follows me on Twitter, and he likes what I have to say and thinks that other people would too. You should go and subscribe to him. So I'm like, you know what? And I listen, and it just sounds really, really nice, the things he's saying about me. And so I retweeted what he said, and I was like, man, I had to check and see if I was dead, and I was listening to my eulogy or something like that. And he says, well, in all honesty, he says, I also do rarely, thankfully, in remembrance of, YouTubers when they pass. And I said, so what I'm hearing is, worst case scenario, you'll do another video about me. Like, yeah, I guess. But yeah, let me drop that link here.
And he will be on your stream on Friday, correct?
Yes, I will. My special guest behind the bar on Friday will be Ryan Roger Athay, and you'll get an opportunity to get to know him and subscribe to him. And I even said when he announced that he had gotten, I think, over 600 subscribers recently. And I said, great. And you're going to be on my channel on Friday, and we'll get you another 2 or 3.
No, but definitely that'll be a good stream, and I'll be on there as well this Friday. And
I just dropped the link if anyone wants to check out that video after we wrap up here, and we are wrapping up right now.
So what else is going on this week? Wednesday, I'll be on Soundtracks of Birdman. I'm not sure what we'll be doing. Maybe he'll go into greater detail about his unfortunate John Williams concert he went to, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do something else. I don't know.
That's really a shame. That's really a shame. But and then on Friday, I just told you what we're doing on Friday, and then Saturday over on Big Al's. I mentioned that earlier in the stream for the rewatch of Gone with the Wind. I said that Gone with the Wind should be a double feature with Twister.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay, I'll stop making that joke.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that'll be cool, and that'll bring us back to Sunday.
Yep, where we'll be back here talking more Geeky Geezers.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up the stream. Do we have anything else? Any other Blu-ray comments you want to say?
Well, just own physical media so they can never take it away from you.
Listen, and, I recently got on Blu-ray The Return of Captain Invincible.
Who's Captain Invincible?
Apparently it was an Australia-made superhero spoof that featured Christopher Lee as the villain, Mr. Midnight.
Interesting.
And I think Alan Arkin was Captain Invincible, and he's like a Superman type of character that comes back, but his one weakness is that instead of kryptonite or stuff like that, he has a weakness for alcohol and will get drunk.
Oh my!
It's so, and apparently these songs were written by the guy that wrote the songs for Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it's like a musical too. It's like, and Christopher Lee sings in it. I have no idea if this movie is good or bad. But are you going to get that? Is Disney or even Warner Brothers, they're going to go to the trouble of remastering Captain Invincible for 4K? No. That's why we have Blu-ray.
Probably not. Yeah.
Apparently, Terry Pratchett said it's the worst movie he ever saw that got regular play in his VCR. So
nice. Nice.
Is that a compliment or not?
That is. I would say that is. Well, I mean, it's like when it wasn't a good movie and I don't recommend it to anyone, but because of the review that Big Al did, I've seen Ouija Shark. And honestly, if I just happen to see it, on a stream or something, I might watch it again. It's horrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, we've got to do. He has to do a rewatch of Amityville in Space when it becomes available.
Amityville in Space. Absolutely.
More on that next week. Yes. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.